There is a kind of tiredness that does not come from the body. You may have slept and still carried it. You may have rested your limbs and still felt it behind the eyes. You may have withdrawn from the noise of the day and still heard in the silence the old argument continuing within you. It is the tiredness of trying to make something happen from a state that does not yet agree it is yours. Perhaps this is the weariness you brought with you tonight. Not merely the weariness of life, nor of work, nor of waiting, but the deeper weariness of pushing against an invisible door. You have desired, you have imagined, you have spoken words meant to convince the mind. You have repeated phrases while another voice within whispered. But where is it? You have looked for evidence, watched for signs, measured the day, questioned the silence, and then gone to bed with the body still arguing with life. And I tell you gently, that is not failure. It is only division. One part of you reached for the desire, while another part still lived in its absence. One part of you said, "It is mine," while another checked the world to see if it had permission to believe. One part of you wanted the end, while another remained faithful to the beginning. And a divided state cannot feel inevitable. It can only feel possible, hopeful, delicate, and easily disturbed. Tonight we do not come to disturb the mind with more effort. We do not come to add another burden to the heart. We do not come to command the body to believe what it has not yet been allowed to feel. Tonight is not a night for force. It is not a night for wrestling with the unseen. It is not a night for reaching outward into a world that is already tired of being questioned by fear. Tonight the desire is not chaste, it is accepted. Let that be the first softness in you. The desire is not chaste, it is accepted. You are not here to force the desire. You are here to let it become inevitable. And what is inevitable does not need your strain. It does not need your panic. It does not need the clenched jaw, the restless mind, the hurried breath, the secret counting of days, the silent checking of whether life has begun to obey. What is inevitable is carried by a deeper agreement. It moves because consciousness has ceased to argue against it. The night does not need your effort. It receives your consent. And consent is quieter than effort. Effort leans forward. Consent settles inward. Effort says, "I must make this happen." Consent says, "I allow myself to be the one for whom it is already done." Effort looks to the world and asks, "When?" Consent turns within and says, "Now." Effort demands a path. Consent accepts the end. Effort shakes the seed in the hand. Consent places it into the soil. Before you go deeper into this night, make one small outward act that agrees with the inward decision you are making now. Subscribe to this channel, not as a common motion, not as something done without thought, but as a quiet sign that you are willing to return to the state again and again until it feels natural. Let it be a small visible yes to an invisible truth. Let it say, without noise, "I am not merely passing through these words. I am choosing to be reminded of who I am." Do it gently and then let it disappear from your mind. Let the act be simple. Let it be finished. Each time you return to these teachings, the seed planted in the night is watered again. Not by struggle, not by pressure, but by remembrance. And if you have already made that small outer sign, then rest in it. Let it be done. The hand has moved. Now consciousness may enter the deeper work. For the true work is not done by the hand. It is done in the secret movement, from longing to acceptance. Now listen, not with effort, but with that quiet region of yourself that already knows. Your desire has never been far, because distance in the outer world is only the shadow of distance in the state. A thing can stand at the door and still feel far, if you are not inwardly the one who receives it. A thing can be unseen and yet near, if you have entered the state where it belongs to you. Nearness is not measured only by events, it is measured by naturalness. What feels foreign must travel through resistance. What feels natural comes home. So tonight we are not asking, "How do I make it happen?" We are asking something deeper and quieter. How do I cease to be the one to whom it has not happened? This is the great turning. This is where the old effort begins to loosen. For the one who lacks tries to make. The one who is fulfilled allows. The one who waits searches. The one who has accepted rests. The one who is outside the state begs for signs. The one who is inside the state no longer needs to be convinced by the road. Perhaps you have imagined your desire many times. Perhaps you have seen it in the mind's eye, spoken it in words, written it, prayed over it, remembered it, returned to it, and still felt the ache of separation. This does not mean imagination failed. It means the image was perhaps carried by the mood of not yet. And not yet is also a state. Waiting is a state. Trying is a state. Checking is a state. Hope mixed with fear is a state. Longing is a state. And the law answers the state more deeply than it answers the picture. A man may imagine wealth while feeling poor. A woman may imagine love while feeling unwanted. One may imagine freedom while feeling trapped. Another may imagine success while feeling behind. And because the feeling beneath the image is still absence, the world reflects the deeper command. The outer law is not deceived by surface decoration. It mirrors what is accepted within. But tonight, we do not condemn the old state. We simply cease to feed it. There is no need to fight the self who waited. There is no need to curse the self who doubted. There is no need to be ashamed of the nights you lay awake trying to force belief. That was only consciousness seeking its own power while still believing itself separate from the fulfilled wish. Tonight, we do not shame that self. We let it become quiet. We let it be tired enough to stop ruling the night. For there is a holy tiredness too. The tiredness that comes when the soul has had enough of pretending that strain is power. The tiredness that says, I no longer wish to argue with appearances. The tiredness that finally lays the sword down and discovers the door was never opened by battle. It was opened by assumption. Let that tiredness help you now. Let it not become despair. Let it become surrender. Not surrender to lack. Surrender to the fulfilled state. There is a difference. To surrender to lack is to say, nothing can change. To surrender to the fulfilled state is to say, I no longer need to fight for what is already accepted in consciousness. To surrender to lack is collapse. To surrender to the end is peace. One drains the body, the other releases it. One bows to the world, the other rests in the law. Tonight, we surrender to the end. Not dramatically, not loudly, not as a performance. We surrender as the body surrenders to sleep. Have you noticed that no man can force sleep by command? He may close his eyes tightly. He may demand rest. He may become angry that sleep has not come. Yet sleep approaches only when the struggle against wakefulness dissolves. Sleep is received, not conquered. And so is the fulfilled state. The desire becomes inevitable in the same way sleep comes, not by violence but by consent. You are not required to make your desire inevitable tonight by pressure. You are only invited to stop making it uncertain by contradiction. You are invited to stop carrying two states into the night. You are invited to withdraw your loyalty from the old conclusion. You are invited to let the body, the breath, the feeling, and the inward word move toward one agreement. It is already done, not as noise, as rest. The old mind may ask, but how? Let it ask and grow quiet. The old mind may ask, but when? Let it ask and grow quiet. The old mind may ask, but when? Let it. The old mind may ask, but what if nothing changes? Let it ask and grow quiet. Questions may appear like birds crossing the evening sky. You need not follow them. You need not trap them. You need not answer every wing beat of doubt. Let them pass across the vastness of awareness and return to the simple inward consent. Tonight, I consent to the fulfilled state. Tonight, I consent to being the one. Tonight, I consent to the end. This is all the night requires. The night is a great receiver. It receives the last feeling you give it. It receives the secret assumption beneath your words. It receives the identity you carry when reason grows faint. Many enter the night carrying worry, as though it were wisdom. They carry the day's evidence, the unanswered question, the feared delay, the remembered disappointment. They lay these upon the altar of sleep, and then wonder why the morning feels like yesterday returning. Tonight, you will not carry the old argument into the deep. You will not carry the ache of not yet as your final prayer. You will not fall asleep as the one waiting outside the door. You will begin gently to sleep as the one for whom the door has already opened. Even if the outer world has not yet shown it, consciousness can accept it. Even if the senses still report absence, imagination can enter possession. Even if the road is unseen, the state can be chosen. And when the state is chosen without inner argument, the road begins to form, quietly, naturally, inevitably. That word inevitable must not excite you too much. Let it calm you. Inevitability is not frantic. It does not run. It does not shout. It does not shake the heavens. The inevitable is often silent. Dawn is inevitable, and yet it arrives gently. The seed becoming the plant is inevitable when the conditions are accepted, and yet it does not panic beneath the soil. The tide is inevitable, and yet it moves by law, not by strain. So your desire, accepted in consciousness, need not be forced. It moves by law. Let your desire stop feeling like something you must drag across a great distance. Let it become something already turned toward you. Let it become something that has entered the current of fulfillment. Let it become something that no longer asks for permission from fear. You are not here to force the desire. You are here to let it become inevitable. Let the body hear that. Not as instruction, as relief. The body has been used too often as an instrument of struggle. It has leaned forward when it should have rested. It has tightened when it should have received. It has braced against disappointment before disappointment even came. It has slept in the posture of a defender. But tonight, the body may begin to learn another law. It may learn that the fulfilled state does not require strain. It may learn that receiving is safe. It may learn that the end can be entered inwardly before the world has completed its rearrangement. There is no need yet to make a scene, no need yet to choose words, no need yet to perform any method. First, let the deep insistence soften. Let the demand to make something happen tonight dissolve. You are not losing the desire by releasing the strain. You are allowing the desire to move from hunger into certainty. Hunger clutches, certainty rests. Hunger watches the door. Certainty knows the visitor is already on the way. Hunger measures time. Certainty dwells in the end. And you may say, but I do not yet feel certainty. That is all right. Do not pretend. Begin with consent. Certainty grows where consent is repeated. You need not leap from fear into perfect knowing. You may move gently. You may say, I am willing to enter the fulfilled state tonight. You may say, I am willing to stop arguing with my desire. You may say, I am willing to let the old state loosen. You may say, I am willing to sleep as though it is already done. Willingness is a doorway. Do not despise it. A small inward yes is more powerful than a loud outer effort. Let there be a small yes in you now. Yes to the fulfilled state. Yes to the end. Yes to the version of you who no longer waits. Yes to the desire becoming natural. Yes to the manifestation becoming inevitable. Not because you forced it, because you accepted it. The world has taught men to be impressed by noise. It celebrates movement, strain, pressure, and outward proof. But the deepest changes of life begin in silence. A decision made inwardly may change 1,000 outer events. A state accepted before sleep may alter the road of tomorrow. A single feeling, if accepted as true, may become the seed of an entire life. The world may not know the hour when the change began. It may call the result chance, timing, fortune, or coincidence, but you will know. It began in consciousness when you ceased fighting the desire and allowed yourself to become its home. Tonight, become its home, not its beggar, not its watcher, not its servant. Its home. Let the desire belong in you. Let the fulfilled wish have a place to rest in your body, in your breath, in your inward speech. Let it no longer be treated as a stranger standing far outside the gates. Let the gates open inwardly. Let the desire enter as a fact of consciousness, and then let sleep carry it deeper than thought can follow. The night does not need your effort, it receives your consent. Again, gently. The night does not need your effort, it receives your consent, and what you consent to in the deep becomes the law of your experience. So let the mind stop rehearsing delay. Let it stop imagining the world resisting you. Let it stop placing the desire at a distance. Let it stop asking whether you are worthy, whether the time is right, whether the way is possible. These are questions of the old state. The fulfilled state has another atmosphere. It does not ask, will it happen? It rests in the quiet sense, it is done. It does not ask, can I have it? It knows, I am the one. It does not ask, how far away is it? It feels, the way is already made. You do not need to believe this with force. Force is unnecessary. Let it approach you like the night itself. The night does not fall in one blow, it gathers, the light softens, edges fade, sounds grow distant, the world becomes less sharp. So let the fulfilled state gather in you, not all at once, not violently. Let it soften the edges of doubt. Let it make the old questions less important. Let it make the desire feel less like a problem and more like a direction already chosen. The manifestation becomes inevitable when it is no longer treated as an emergency. Let that be remembered. When you treat the desire as an emergency, the body enters fear. When the body enters fear, the state becomes need. When the state becomes need, the world reflects need. But when the desire is treated as accepted, the body can rest. When the body rests, the subconscious receives. When the subconscious receives, the bridge begins. And when the bridge begins, the outer world must move, often through ways the conscious mind did not imagine. So tonight, no emergency, no spiritual emergency, no emotional emergency, no demand that life prove itself before morning, no demand that the world show evidence before you allow yourself peace. Peace comes first. The state comes first. The end comes first. Then the world follows. Let the desire be safe enough to come near. Some have wanted their desire so intensely that the desire itself became associated with pain. They think of love and feel absence. They think of wealth and feel lack. They think of healing and feel fear. They think of success and feel pressure. Thus the desire becomes mixed with the wound of not having it. Tonight, we begin to separate the desire from pain. The fulfilled wish is not painful. Only longing is painful. The end is not torment. Only distance is torment. So we do not dwell in distance. We begin to dwell in the end. What would it be to let the desire feel calm? What would it be to let it feel safe? What would it be to let it feel natural? What would it be to no longer reach for it, but rest as one in whom it has already found a place? Do not answer with the intellect. Let the body consider it. Let the breath consider it. Let the heart consider it. Let the sleeping mind consider it. Perhaps a small softness comes. Perhaps the jaw releases slightly. Perhaps the chest is less guarded. Perhaps the hands no longer need to hold the future so tightly. That is enough for now. The beginning of inevitability is often the end of inner resistance. The desire does not need to be dragged into your life. It needs to be allowed into your identity. This is the opening of the night, not striving. Consent, not chasing. Acceptance, not panic. Inevitability. You may lie here now without needing to become perfect. There is no perfect listener. There is no perfect student. There is only consciousness choosing again. If you have doubted all day, you may choose now. If you have feared all week, you may choose now. If you have carried the old state for years, you may choose now. The law does not ask how long you slept in another state. It asks only what you are willing to accept now. Now is always the doorway, and tonight now becomes soft enough to enter. Let the desire be placed gently before the inner eye, not as something far away, not as something fragile, not as something that must be earned through suffering, but as something already belonging to the state you are entering. You need not see it clearly yet. You need not name every detail. You need only stop standing outside it. You need only cease saying inwardly, not yet, not yet, not yet. Let the old phrase fade. Not yet can fade. Trying can fade. Waiting can fade. Checking can fade. Forcing can fade. The new phrase may begin quietly. It is already done. The state is accepted. The way is made. I am already the one. My desire is inevitable. Do not repeat them quickly. Let them pass like slow lights in a dark room. One may remain. One may touch you. One may soften the body. One may feel too strong tonight, and another may feel gentle enough to carry. There is no need to choose yet. Only listen. Let the words make an atmosphere. It is already done. The state is accepted. The way is made. I am already the one. My desire is inevitable. These are not words to excite the mind. They are words to settle the soul. The fulfilled state is not a storm. It is a deep place. It is the place from which the storm is no longer feared. It is the place where the desire has direction, where the future is no longer wandering, where consciousness has chosen and no longer asks the old world to approve. You are entering that place now, gently, not by climbing, by releasing, not by forcing, by consenting. The night does not need your effort. It receives your consent. The desire is not chased. It is accepted. The manifestation is not begged for. It is allowed to become inevitable. And you are not here to make life obey you by tension. You are here to remember that life has always obeyed state. Tonight, the state begins to change. Tonight, the old effort softens. Tonight, the desire moves from possibility toward inevitability, not because you strained, but because something within you has begun to say yes. A quiet yes, a sleeping yes, a yes beneath words, a yes the subconscious can receive. Let that yes be enough for this opening. Let it be enough that you are no longer pushing. Let it be enough that you are no longer arguing. Let it be enough that you are willing to let the desire feel done. Let it be enough that the night is receiving a new consent. Rest here for a moment in the first truth of this journey. You do not have to force the desire tonight. You only have to enter the state where it already has direction. The state is accepted, the way is made, the desire is not chased, it is accepted, and what is accepted deeply enough becomes inevitable. Now let us become very clear about the difference between what is merely possible and what is inevitable, because many live their whole inner life in possibility and then wonder why the outer world does not become stable. Possibility still trembles. Possibility still asks permission. Possibility says, perhaps. Possibility says, one day. Possibility says, if it works. Possibility says, if the world allows it. Possibility says, if the road appears. Possibility says, if I become worthy enough, patient enough, fortunate enough, chosen enough. And so the desire remains in the distance, not because the law is weak, but because consciousness has not yet ceased to negotiate with the old condition. What is possible can still be doubted. What is inevitable has already been accepted. Let that enter you slowly. What is possible can still be doubted. What is inevitable has already been accepted. A desire may be possible in the mind and still feel impossible in the body. A desire may be imagined often and still feel foreign to identity. A desire may be spoken aloud and yet inwardly placed at the mercy of time, people, circumstance, evidence, and chance. And then, though the lips say, it can happen, the deeper feeling says, but it has not happened, and I do not know if it will. That deeper feeling is the state that is being lived. Tonight, I do not want you to rest in maybe. Maybe is a tired room. Many have lived there too long. They have decorated the walls with hope, but the floor is still uncertainty. They sit in that room and dream of another life while still feeling separate from it. They say maybe tomorrow. They say maybe if I do everything correctly. They say maybe if I pray long enough. They say maybe if I am chosen by the world. But maybe is not the end. Maybe is still divided. Maybe still waits outside the door. Inevitability is different. Inevitability is not excitement. It is not emotional violence. It is not a loud certainty that must be defended. It is not the ego declaring victory while fear hides underneath. True inevitability is calm. It is settled. It has the quality of a thing already decided inwardly. It is the quiet feeling that the desire has direction now, that it is no longer wandering, that it is no longer a fragile hope exposed to every passing wind. Inevitability is not force. It is inner decision without inner argument. This distinction is everything. Force still contains resistance. Force still believes there is something outside that must be overcome. Force says, I must make it happen. Force says, I must break through. Force says, I must conquer time, conquer circumstance, conquer another person, conquer the world. But inner decision does not fight. Inner decision knows that the only true battle was the division within consciousness. When that division ends, the outer world is no longer treated as a master. It becomes a mirror that must, in its own lawful way, reflect the new state. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. Let this thought soften the mind rather than awaken it. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. If you look only to appearances, you may say, nothing is certain. If you look only to the present evidence, you may say, it is only possible. If you consult memory, memory may say, it has not happened before. If you consult fear, fear may say, do not trust it. If you consult reason, reason may ask for the bridge before the state has been accepted. But if you consult consciousness, if you enter the place where I am silently chooses its garment, you may discover that a thing can be inwardly decided before it is outwardly seen. That is how all manifestation begins. It begins not when the senses agree, but when consciousness no longer asks the senses for permission. You do not need the outer world to make your desire appear probable before you accept it. Probability belongs to the reasoning mind. Inevitability belongs to the accepted state. The reasoning mind calculates from what has been. Consciousness creates from what is assumed. The reasoning mind looks at former evidence and says, this is likely and that is unlikely. But imagination does not create according to likelihood. It creates according to occupancy. What state do you occupy? What do you accept as true? What identity have you entered? That is the question. Many people remain in possibility because possibility feels safer than commitment. It allows them to hope without fully becoming. It allows them to desire without surrendering the old self. It allows them to say, I believe, while still keeping the old disappointment nearby as protection. And so possibility becomes a compromise between faith and fear. It is neither the old world fully accepted nor the new world fully inhabited. It is the corridor between rooms, but you cannot sleep forever in the corridor. Tonight you are invited to enter the room. The room is the fulfilled state. The room is the end. The room is the identity of one for whom the desire is already true in consciousness. You need not know the road to enter the room. You need not know the date. You need not know the messenger. You need not know the arrangement. The room is not reached by controlling the outer path. It is entered by inward assumption. A thing becomes inevitable when you stop asking if it may be yours and begin to dwell as the one to whom it belongs, not as possession in the hand yet, perhaps, but as possession in identity. There is a world of difference between the sentence, "It could happen to me," and the sentence, "This is the state I now occupy." The first sentence glances toward the desire, the second enters it. The first stands at a distance. The second removes distance. The first depends on signs. The second becomes cause. The first asks life to prove. The second gives life a pattern to reflect. What is possible still stands before the door. What is inevitable has already entered. I want you to feel that difference, not think of it only. Feel what possibility does in the body. It leans, it reaches, it waits, it checks, it asks, it wonders. It is not at rest. Even when it hopes with one eye open, watching to see if disappointment will return. Possibility can be beautiful in the beginning, but if one remains there too long, it becomes exhausting. For the soul was not made to live forever in maybe. Now feel what inevitability does in the body. It settles, it breathes, it does not hurry, it does not need to check every moment. It is not careless, but it is not frightened. It does not require the world to speak at once. It knows the inner word has already been spoken. Inevitability feels like a letter already sent, a seed already planted, a verdict already rendered, a path already beginning, though not yet visible to the eyes. This is what you are moving toward tonight, not a loud certainty, a quiet inevitability, not a desperate claim, a settled inward decision, not "I hope," but "I have accepted." And yet, if "I have accepted" feels too strong at first, do not fight yourself. Let the words approach gradually. The state of inevitability need not be forced upon the frightened parts of you. It may be introduced gently as the night introduces darkness. You may begin with a willingness. "I am willing to let this be inevitable." You may begin with consent. "I consent to the fulfilled state." You may begin with a softer entrance. "I am no longer keeping this desire at a distance." Even this begins to loosen the old possibility state. For the old state is not only unbelief. Sometimes the old state is endless hoping. Hope that never becomes being can become another form of delay. Hope looks toward the end. Being lives from it. Hope says, "May it come." Being says, "It is accepted." Hope still measures distance. Being dissolves distance. Hope can comfort the weary heart, but it is not the final creative act. The final creative act is assumption. I do not tell you to abandon hope in despair. I tell you to let hope mature into acceptance. Hope is the child looking at the promised land. Acceptance is the one who enters it. Tonight your desire is invited to move from hope into acceptance, from possibility into inevitability, from distance into identity. And this movement need not be dramatic. It may be so quiet that the outer mind hardly notices it. A small inward shift can change the whole direction of life. A little less argument, a little less checking, a little more naturalness, a little more rest in the end. These are not small things. They are the first signs that the inner verdict is changing. The inner verdict matters, for every man carries a verdict within him. He may not speak it, but he feels it. This will never change. That is a verdict. I am always overlooked. That is a verdict. It is difficult for me. That is a verdict. It may happen for others, but not for me. That is a verdict. These verdicts become invisible commands. They make life feel fixed, even when the law is always ready to reflect a new state. But there is another verdict. It is done. The state is accepted. The way is already made. I am already the one. My desire is inevitable. Do not say these as mere words. Let them become a quiet inner decision. A verdict does not need to shout to be valid. In a court, once the verdict is given, the matter is decided. There may still be papers to sign, doors to open, messengers to move, arrangements to complete, but the decision has been made. So it is in consciousness. Once the state is accepted, the outer world may still need to rearrange, but the decision has been made. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. This is not denial of the world. It is correct ordering. The outer world is not ignored. It is placed where it belongs. It is effect, not cause. It is reflection, not source. It is echo, not voice. The echo may still be returning old words, but you need not speak them again. The mirror may still hold the last expression, but you need not wear it again. The harvest may still show old seeds, but you need not plant them again. Inevitability begins when you stop confusing the old echo with final law. A person living in possibility hears the old echo and says, perhaps nothing has changed. A person entering inevitability hears the old echo and says, that is not my new command. A person living in possibility looks at the mirror and asks, may I believe now? A person entering inevitability changes the face and lets the mirror follow. A person living in possibility digs up the seed to see whether it has grown. A person entering inevitability knows that hidden growth is still growth. Therefore, let hidden growth become acceptable to you. The desire may be moving before it is visible. The bridge may be forming before it is recognized. The world may be turning before it announces itself. The subconscious may be receiving before reason understands. Do not require visibility before you allow inward certainty. Visibility is the child of state. State is the parent. If you make the child the parent, you invert the law and become dependent on appearances. But when you restore the order, you become calm. State first, evidence after. Inner decision first. Outer arrangement after. Consciousness first. World after. This is the order of inevitability. Now let us look gently at the phrases that keep one in possibility. One day is one of them. It sounds innocent, even hopeful, but often it places the desire beyond the present moment. One day I will be free. One day I will be loved. One day I will be secure. One day it will work. But one day is not the end. One day is distance. It may comfort the mind, but it does not clothe the I am. The law does not answer one day. It answers what is accepted now. Another phrase is, if it works. This phrase keeps the desire on trial. It says, I will test the law from outside the state, but one cannot test the state while refusing to enter it. If it works, keeps the self as observer, not inhabitant. It waits to see whether imagination will prove itself before imagination is truly accepted. That is not assumption, that is suspicion, wearing the language of practice. Another phrase is, if the world allows it. This is the old surrender to appearances. It gives people conditions, history, and timing authority over consciousness. It says, I may have my desire if the world grants permission. But the world is not the grantor of state. The world is the witness of state. The world follows what is accepted within. It may appear powerful to the senses, but it is late. Consciousness is first. Another phrase is, maybe. Maybe is the soft voice of division. It is not always negative, but it is incomplete. Maybe says, I do not fully reject the desire, but I do not yet live from it. Tonight, you need not hate the maybe. You only let it mature. Maybe becomes willingness. Willingness becomes acceptance. Acceptance becomes naturalness. Naturalness becomes inevitability. This is the progression. Maybe, willingness, acceptance, naturalness, inevitability. Do not demand the final feeling all at once. Let the state deepen, but know where you are going. You are not going toward more hoping. You are going toward being. You are not going toward more nervous possibility. You are going toward the calm inner fact. You are not going toward more watching. You are going toward acceptance. Now the mind may ask, but how can I know it is inevitable if I do not know how it will happen? This is the old confusion. Inevitability does not mean knowing the method. It means accepting the state. A seed does not know, as a man knows, the exact arrangement of root, stem, leaf, rain, sun, and season. Yet the tree is inevitable when the seed is alive and the conditions are accepted. Dawn does not explain how each shade of light will enter the sky, yet dawn comes. The tide does not describe every movement of water, yet the tide moves. The how belongs to the unfolding. The state belongs to you. Do not take upon yourself the burden of the how. That burden belongs to the bridge, and the bridge is built by the accepted state. If you try to know every incident in advance, you return to effort. If you try to control every person, you return to fear. If you try to choose the only possible road, you make the desire small. The law has more roads than the waking mind can imagine. Inevitability does not require prediction. It requires acceptance. It does not mean you know when. It means you know from where you now live. It does not mean you control anyone. It means you are no longer divided within yourself. Let this be a relief. You do not need to control another soul. You do not need to move someone by force. You do not need to manipulate circumstance. You do not need to watch life nervously. You only need to become faithful to the state of the fulfilled wish. As you do, people, events, impulses, timing, and roads find their place according to the law. A man who thinks he must control another has not yet entered inevitability. Control is fear's imitation of faith. It tries to force the outer world because the inner state is not yet accepted. But when the inner state is accepted, control begins to fall away. You no longer need to seize the road. You trust the state to produce its own bridge. You do not make people servants of your anxiety. You allow the law to move all things in harmony with the accepted end. Inevitability is never harsh. It is not violence. It is not possession by force. It is not domination. It is inward agreement with the fulfilled state. And because all states externalize themselves, the agreement must find expression. There is a gentleness in true inevitability. The desire does not feel like a battle. It feels like something already belonging to the order of your life. It may not yet be visible, but it is no longer alien. It no longer shocks the body. It no longer feels too far, too high, too late, too delicate. It feels as though life has already turned in that direction. You may not hear the wheels turning, but inwardly you know the movement has begun. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. Return to that. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. There is no need to wake the mind by repeating it too strongly. Let it be a low flame. Let it warm the inner room. Consciousness has chosen. The state is accepted. The desire is moving from possibility to inevitability. Now perhaps your desire concerns love. Then the possible says, maybe I will be chosen. The inevitable says, I am chosen in consciousness now, and the world must meet me from that state. The possible says, perhaps they will return. The inevitable says, I live in the fulfilled feeling of union. The possible searches faces for proof. The inevitable rests in being loved. Perhaps your desire concerns wealth. The possible says, maybe money will come. The inevitable says, I am provided for, and supply finds its channels. The possible counts lack and hopes against it. The inevitable feels enoughness before the figures change. The possible begs the world to change. The inevitable changes the state from which money is met. Perhaps your desire concerns health. The possible says, maybe I can be well. The inevitable says, I occupy the feeling of wholeness. The possible watches the body fearfully. The inevitable allows the body to follow the deeper command of life. The possible reacts to every sensation. The inevitable rests in the identity of vitality. Perhaps your desire concerns success, recognition, direction, peace, reconciliation, freedom, a home, an opening, a new life. The principle is the same. Possibility keeps the desire ahead of you. Inevitability places it within identity. Possibility asks whether the world will permit it. Inevitability accepts that consciousness has already chosen it. Possibility waits. Inevitability becomes. This is the movement of tonight. You are not trying to make the desire seem likely. You are letting it become inwardly settled. A thing can appear unlikely to the world and still be inevitable in consciousness. The world judges by the past. Consciousness creates from assumption. The world says, I have not seen it yet. Consciousness says, I have accepted it now. The world says, there is no evidence. Consciousness says, the state is the evidence. The world says, it is only possible. Consciousness says, it is done within. Do you feel the difference? Do not force yourself to feel it. Let it be suggested gently. Let the possibility state loosen. Let maybe grow tired. Let one day become less interesting. Let if it works dissolve. Let if the world allows it fall away. These were only old phrases that kept the desire conditional. Tonight the condition is removed. Not because the outer world has changed yet, but because the inner world is ceasing to bargain. The interior no longer negotiates with the old world. That is a powerful statement. The interior no longer negotiates with the old world. To negotiate is to say, I will accept my desire if you give me proof. To negotiate is to say, I will rest when the world changes first. To negotiate is to say, I will be the fulfilled one only when the senses approve. But the fulfilled state cannot be entered through negotiation. It is entered through assumption. It is accepted before proof. It is lived inwardly before the mirror catches up. So let the negotiation end, not by force, by weariness of the old argument, by recognizing that the world has never been the true cause, by seeing that consciousness is first, by allowing the desire to be decided within. Perhaps the most restful thing you can hear tonight is this. You do not need your desire to look probable outside in order for it to be decided inside. The outer world may still be wearing yesterday's clothing. The old evidence may still stand for a little while. The echo may still speak in the voice of what you used to believe. But if consciousness has chosen, if the state is accepted, if the inner argument ends, then the old evidence is no longer prophecy. It is only residue. Let residue be residue. Do not crown it. Do not bow to it. Do not call it final. Let the old world be late. Let the new state be first. Let the desire become inevitable within before it becomes obvious without. Now, as you listen, allow one simple recognition to form. My desire does not have to look likely. It has to feel accepted. This does not mean you must produce a violent certainty. It means the desire is no longer being pushed away by your own inner condition. It means you stop keeping it at a distance through the language of maybe. It means you begin to feel the end as a place you can rest. My desire does not have to look likely. It has to feel accepted. Again, my desire does not have to look likely. It has to feel accepted and softer. Accepted within, chosen within, settled within, inevitable within, inevitable within. This is the inner birth of certainty. Certainty does not always begin as a blazing conviction. Sometimes it begins as the absence of resistance. Sometimes it begins as the body no longer tightening at the thought of the desire. Sometimes it begins as a quieter breath. Sometimes it begins as the old question losing its sharpness. Sometimes it begins as a small sense that perhaps you do not need to chase anymore. Do not despise these beginnings. A desire becomes inevitable, not because you shout over doubt, but because doubt loses its home in you. Doubt may still pass through the mind, but it no longer becomes your dwelling. Fear may still whisper, but it no longer receives your full consent. An old image may arise, but you no longer call it destiny. This is how inevitability grows. You remain in the chosen state more often than you return to the old one. You become faithful to the end. You give the subconscious one direction instead of many contradictions. A divided man says, I have it, and then sleeps in, I do not. A settled man may speak fewer words, but his inward direction is clear. He is not torn between two masters. He has chosen. The old world may still appear, but it no longer owns his identity. The new state has been accepted. The state is accepted. The way is made. I am already the one. The manifestation is inevitable. Let these phrases move slowly. Do not try to hold them all. One may be enough. The state is accepted. That is enough. I am already the one. That is enough. The way is made. That is enough. It is done. That is enough. Each phrase is only a doorway into the same room. Inner decision, without inner argument. The deeper you go tonight, the less you need to think about possibility. Possibility belongs to the waking mind. It is useful at the beginning, perhaps because it opens the door away from despair. But the night asks for something deeper. The night asks, what will you consent to be true, while reason softens? What state will you carry when the senses fade? Will you carry maybe, or will you carry done? Will you carry one day, or will you carry now? Will you carry F, or will you carry I am? The night receives the answer, not as words only, but as state. Let your answer be simple. I consent to the fulfilled state. I consent to the end. I consent to being the one. I consent to inevitability. Not a strained inevitability, a natural one, the kind that rests, the kind that breathes, the kind that can sleep. If a feeling cannot sleep, it is not yet the feeling I want for you tonight. Excitement may wake you, desperation may wake you, mental effort may wake you, but true inevitability can sleep because it does not need to stand guard. It trusts the law, it trusts the seed, it trusts the unseen arrangement. So let inevitability become sleepy, let it become warm, let it become quiet. Let it become less like a proclamation and more like a settled fact. It is done. The way is made. The state is accepted. I am already the one. My desire is inevitable. Now, if those words feel too direct, soften them. It is becoming natural. The way is forming. The state is being accepted. I am entering the fulfilled wish. My desire has direction now. Even these softer phrases move you away from maybe. They begin to gather the scattered energies of the mind. They tell the subconscious, we are no longer wandering, we are moving toward one inner conclusion, and a single inner conclusion, repeated with feeling, becomes creative. You are not forcing the desire, you are letting it become inevitable. You are not making the world obey tonight. You are ending the inner argument that delayed the reflection. You are not controlling the bridge, you are accepting the state from which the bridge must form. You are not making anything probable, you are making it natural within. And what becomes natural within becomes inevitable without. Let that be the final recognition of this section. What becomes natural within becomes inevitable without. Again, gently, what becomes natural within becomes inevitable without. The world may not yet show it, but consciousness has already chosen. What is possible can still be doubted. What is inevitable has already been accepted. Inevitability is not force, it is inner decision, without inner argument. Let those truths settle lower than thought. Let them move beneath the need to understand. Let them become an atmosphere around the body. You do not need to debate them now. You only need to let them make you quieter. Your desire does not have to appear probable tonight. It has to be accepted within. Your desire does not have to explain its path tonight. It has to be allowed into identity. Your desire does not have to convince the world tonight. It has to be received by consciousness. And consciousness, having received it, will arrange its own reflection. So rest now in the difference. Possible is far. Inevitable is accepted. Possible waits. Inevitable rests. Possible asks. Inevitable knows. Possible watches the world. Inevitable inhabits the state. Possible says, maybe. Inevitable says, it is done. And tonight, gently, without strain, without performance, without demanding evidence, you move from maybe toward done, from one day toward now, from hope toward acceptance, from possibility toward inevitability. The state is accepted, the way is made. I am already the one. Let it be quiet, let it be natural, let it be inwardly decided. Now we must speak of effort, not the noble effort of a man who moves naturally from conviction, but the anxious effort of one who still feels outside the fulfillment he desires. For many have mistaken this anxious effort for faith. They have called it discipline. They have called it devotion. They have called it persistence. But beneath the name, if the body is tense, if the heart is afraid, if the mind is secretly crying, I do not have it yet, then the effort itself becomes testimony against the fulfilled state. Effort often testifies that the state has not yet been accepted. Let this be received gently, not as accusation, but as release. Effort often testifies that the state has not yet been accepted. A man may repeat words for hours and still be living in the state of absence. A woman may visualize morning and night and still be feeling that the desire is far away. One may revise, affirm, pray, imagine, read, speak, write, and watch, and yet beneath all this movement there may remain one quiet assumption: it is not mine yet. And the law does not answer the decoration of practice, it answers the state being lived. The law does not answer strain, it answers being. That is why you must become very honest in the silence of night, not harshly honest, not with condemnation, but spiritually honest. Ask not, how much have I done? Ask, from what state have I done it? Ask not, how many words have I spoken? Ask, what did I feel myself to be when I spoke them? Ask not, how many times have I imagined? Ask, was I imagining from possession, or was I imagining from hunger? For hunger may imitate devotion, fear may imitate discipline, desperation may imitate faith. A man may say, I am practicing the law, while inwardly he is only trying to escape the feeling of not having. And because the feeling of not having is still alive, the practice becomes another way of confirming absence. He says the right words, but from the wrong country. He pictures the end, but stands in the beginning. He reaches toward fulfillment while feeling separate from it. You cannot wrestle the desire into form while feeling separate from it. This is why some grow weary in their spiritual practice. They do not grow weary because the law is difficult. They grow weary because they are fighting themselves. One part of them tries to accept the end. Another part continues to bow before appearances. One part says, it is done. Another part immediately asks, but when? One part says, I am already the one. Another part checks the world for permission. One part plants the seed. Another digs it up before dawn. This inner division is exhausting. Not the desire itself, not the law, the division. Tonight, I do not ask you to work harder. I ask you to stop contradicting the state you wish to occupy. This is a very different work. It is quieter. It is deeper. It is not the work of adding more words, more methods, more force, more mental pressure. It is the work of removing the hidden no beneath your spoken yes. You may have said yes to your desire with the mouth and no with the body. Yes with the imagination and no with the stomach. Yes with the phrase and no with the breath. Yes with the scene and no with the anxious checking that followed. The law is exact. It hears the whole man. It receives the state of being. And so tonight we do not try to shout the yes louder. We let the no grow quiet. There is a devotional practice that is pure, and there is an anxious practice that is only fear, wearing sacred clothing. You must know the difference. Quiet devotion feels like returning to a home. It softens you. It settles you. It deepens the feeling of the end. It does not make the desire more distant. It makes it more natural. Quiet devotion may repeat a phrase, but the phrase becomes a resting place. It may imagine a scene, but the scene becomes a small chamber of fulfillment. It may revise the day, but revision becomes mercy, not punishment. Anxious effort feels different. It hurries, it counts, it measures. It asks after every practice, did it work? It looks for evidence before the seed has been allowed to take root. It makes the desire into an emergency. It makes imagination into labor. It makes prayer into pleading. It makes the body tight. It makes the mind sharp. It makes sleep difficult. And even while it speaks of fulfillment, it lives in the atmosphere of not yet. This is why effort can keep the desire away. Not because action is evil, not because practice is useless, not because repetition is wrong, but because anxious effort often carries the exact state one wishes to leave. It says without words, I do not have. It says, I must make it happen because it is not happening. It says, I must force the world because I do not trust the state. And life, being faithful, reflects the state beneath the movement. The law does not punish the anxious man, it confirms him. The law does not mock the striving woman, it mirrors her. The law does not ask how many methods were used. It asks, what were you being? If you were being one who waits, waiting continues. If you were being one who lacks, lack finds expression. If you were being one who must strain to be chosen, the world gives you more reasons to strain. If you were being one who must prove, life gives you more tests, not as cruelty, as correspondence. State answers to state. Therefore tonight, let the desire be released from effort. Do not release the desire. Release the strain around it. Do not abandon the fulfilled wish. Abandon the feeling that you must drag it into life by force. Do not give up the end. Give up the struggle that says the end is not already accepted within. There is a great difference between surrendering the desire and surrendering the fight. We surrender the fight. The desire remains. The end remains. The state remains. But the warfare around it softens. The old mind may object. It may say, if I stop trying, nothing will happen. This is the old superstition of effort. It believes strain is the cause of creation. But creation is not born of strain. A seed does not strain to become the tree. It consents to its own nature. The child in the womb is not formed by anxious calculation. It grows in hidden order. The dawn is not pulled across the sky by human hands. It arrives by law, so it is with an accepted state. Once it is truly accepted, expression belongs to law. This does not mean you will never act. It means action will no longer be born from panic. It means movement will arise from the state, not from contradiction. A man who is inwardly fulfilled may act, but his action carries another quality. It is not a cry of absence. It is the natural movement of one who is already that which he once sought. He writes the letter from the end. He speaks from the end. He walks from the end. He waits from the end. Even his silence is different. The same outer action can be done from two states. One man writes because he is terrified, nothing will come unless he forces it. Another writes because he is moved naturally by the fulfilled state. One woman speaks because she is begging to be chosen. Another speaks because she knows she is chosen. One man works because he believes he is behind. Another works because creation moves through him. The hand may move similarly, but consciousness is not the same, and the law answers consciousness. So tonight, we are not condemning action. We are releasing anxious effort from the throne. Action is not the source. Being is the source. Methods are not the source. Being is the source. Words are not the source. Being is the source. Images are not the source. Being is the source. The law does not answer strain. It answers being. Now consider the person who visualizes from need. He closes his eyes and sees the desired scene, but the seeing is tight. He wants the scene to rescue him from the present moment. He imagines the end, but the body says, please let this work. He repeats the scene, but every repetition carries the feeling that it has not yet worked. He may think he is impressing the subconscious with fulfillment, but the deeper impression is pleading. Then consider another. He closes his eyes and enters a small scene as though it were already true. He does not strain for detail. He does not demand emotion. He does not watch himself from outside. He rests in the simplest implication. It is done. The scene is not used to escape absence. It is used to occupy possession. The body softens. The breath becomes quiet. The mind stops begging. That is different. That is not anxious effort. That is assumption. The difference is not in the outer form of the practice. The difference is in the state. One repeats to convince. The other repeats to enjoy. One imagines to make it happen. The other imagines because in imagination it is happening now. One affirms against fear. The other speaks from being. One checks for proof. The other rests in acceptance. If you understand this, much useless effort will fall away from you. You will stop multiplying methods from fear. You will stop believing that the law is impressed by the quantity of your practice. The law is precise. It does not need your exhaustion. It does not need your sleepless striving. It does not need you to bruise the mind with repetition. It needs the state accepted. There is a point where repetition becomes fruitful, and a point where repetition becomes fear. Fruitful repetition makes the feeling more natural. Fearful repetition makes the absence more intense. Fruitful repetition is like gently watering a seed. Fearful repetition is like digging up the soil every moment to ask why the seed is not yet a tree. Fruitful repetition deepens rest. Fearful repetition deepens pressure. Learn the difference by the body. The body is honest. If your practice tightens the chest, pause. If your phrase makes the jaw clench, soften it. If your imagining creates panic, return to the feeling of simple relief. If your searching for signs makes the stomach restless, stop searching and return to the state. The body is not the enemy, it reveals the state. When the body is fighting, the practice has become a battlefield. Tonight, the practice is not a battlefield. Tonight, it is a resting place. The night is not asking you to win a spiritual contest before sleep. It is not asking you to prove that you believe. It is not asking you to force certainty into the mind. It is asking you to surrender into the fulfilled state as gently as you surrender into sleep. The moment you try to force sleep, sleep withdraws. The moment you allow it, it comes. The fulfilled state is approached in the same spirit. You cannot bully yourself into the end. You cannot threaten the mind into faith. You cannot punish the body into feeling fulfilled. You cannot wrestle the desire into form while feeling separate from it. So now, let separation soften. Let the feeling of I must make it happen begin to dissolve. Let the need to prove the law tonight dissolve. Let the need to perform perfectly dissolve. Let the hidden fear that you have not done enough dissolve. There is no spiritual arithmetic being kept against you. The law is not counting how many times you visualized, how many words you spoke, how many hours you strained. It is receiving what you accept yourself to be. And acceptance can happen quietly. It can happen in a single softened breath. It can happen in one true moment of being. It can happen as you lie in the dark and finally stop pushing the desire away with the very effort to get it. There is a paradox here, and yet it is simple. The more you chase from lack, the more distance you feel. The more you rest from fulfillment, the nearer the desire becomes. Chase implies distance, rest implies possession, strain implies resistance, ease implies acceptance, desperation implies absence, naturalness implies ownership. The question tonight is not, how can I try harder? The question is, how can I stop testifying against my own fulfillment? Every anxious check testifies. Every desperate repetition testifies. Every fearful search for signs testifies. Every inner complaint of where is it testifies. Not because you are wrong for having these moments, but because they reveal the state asking to be released. Do not condemn them. See them. Bless them. Let them go. Return to the fulfilled state. The fulfilled state does not argue with reality. It knows reality is born from consciousness. The fulfilled state does not attack appearances. It knows appearances are echoes. The fulfilled state does not fight the past. It knows the past is a shadow of former identity. The fulfilled state does not beg the future. It knows the future is formed from the state now occupied. And therefore the fulfilled state can rest. Let this section become a rest from spiritual effort. You do not have to work harder in your manifestation. You have to stop contradicting it. Again, softly. You do not have to work harder in your manifestation. You have to stop contradicting it. And what is contradiction? It is saying, it is done, while feeling that it is not. It is saying, I am the one, while continuing to live as the outsider. It is saying, the way is made, while panicking because you cannot see the road. It is saying, I trust, while demanding proof every hour. They are old habits, and habits dissolve when consciousness withdraws loyalty from them. Tonight, withdraw loyalty from strain. Withdraw loyalty from panic. Withdraw loyalty from checking. Withdraw loyalty from forcing. Withdraw loyalty from the idea that more effort means more power. Power is in being. Power is in acceptance. Power is in the quiet I am. Power is in the state that no longer argues with itself. Now, if there is still a part of you that wants, let it try to rest. Let it try to allow. Let it try to cease fighting. Let it try to become gentle. Let it try to trust that the seed knows how to grow. But even this trying must become soft. Eventually, even the effort to rest must dissolve into rest itself. There is no need to hurry. The old pattern of effort may not fall away all at once. It may return in little ways. It may say, do something more. It may say, repeat again from. It may say, imagine harder. When it speaks, do not become angry. Anger is another effort. Simply hear it as the old state asking to continue, then answer with the new state. I do not need to force. The state is accepted. The way is made. I rest in the fulfilled wish. Let these words be slow. Let them be fewer than the old words. The old state used many arguments. The new state needs little speech. Truth is often brief. I rest in the fulfilled wish. Feel how different this is from anxious affirmation. It does not attack doubt. It does not wrestle with life. It does not stand before the world demanding evidence. It simply returns you to the end. And returning to the end is true practice. True practice is not the nervous performance of techniques. True practice is returning to the state whenever you notice you have left it. Quietly, without shame, without drama. If you find yourself waiting, return. If you find yourself checking, return. If you find yourself straining, return. The return is gentle, but it is powerful. Each return weakens the old identity and strengthens the new. This is devotion. Devotion is not panic, repeated often. Devotion is loyalty to the state. Devotion is not 1,000 words spoken from fear. Devotion is one inward acceptance returned to faithfully. Devotion is not forcing. Devotion is dwelling in the end until the door opens of itself. Devotion is not exhaustion. Devotion is remembrance. The world has taught you to trust effort because effort can be seen, but the unseen law trusts being because being is cause. A man may appear inactive while inwardly occupying a state so completely that his world must change. Another may appear busy while inwardly living in fear, and his busyness only carries him in. Judge it by inner agreement. Inner agreement is quiet. It does not need to advertise itself. It does not need to strain. It does not need to prove. It is the stillness of a thing accepted. Tonight you are invited into that stillness, not the stillness of giving up, but the stillness of having entered, not the stillness of defeat, but the stillness of inward possession, not the stillness of numbness, but the stillness of the fulfilled state. The desire does not become inevitable because you exhausted yourself. It becomes inevitable because consciousness accepted it as done. It becomes inevitable because the old contradiction lost its authority. It becomes inevitable because the state became natural enough to sleep in. It becomes inevitable because you stopped standing outside the wish, begging it to arrive, and entered the wish as identity. This is why sleep is so merciful. At the edge of sleep, you can stop trying to hold the world together. You can stop guarding the desire. You can stop pleading with the future. You can stop building bridges in the mind. The body grows heavy. The reasoning mind softens. The old effort weakens. And in that softness, the fulfilled state can be accepted without struggle. Do not carry effort into this gate. Carry acceptance. Do not carry the sentence, I must make it happen. Carry the sentence, it is all. Do not carry, I hope this works. Carry, the state is accepted. Do not carry, what else must I do? Carry, I rest in the fulfilled wish. Let the phrase rest with you now. I rest in the fulfilled wish. Again, I rest in the fulfilled wish. Softer. Rest in the fulfilled wish. Rest in the fulfilled wish. Rest. Notice that the phrase itself contains no battle. It does not tell you to chase. It does not tell you to. It tells you where to rest. And where you rest in consciousness becomes the place from which life unfolds. If the desire concerns love, do not strain to be chosen. Rest as chosen. If the desire concerns wealth, do not strain to be provided for. Rest as provided. If the desire concerns health, do not strain to become whole. Rest as whole. If the desire concerns freedom, do not strain against the chain. Rest as free. Rest as one who naturally rises. This is not passivity, it is causality. You are moving to cause. You are no longer pushing effects. You are no longer fighting shadows. You are no longer bargaining with the mirror. You are changing the state. And when the state changes, right action, right timing, right speech, right silence, right movement, and right opportunities follow naturally. The law does not answer strain, it answers being. Be the chosen, be the provided, be the free, be the loved, be the whole, not with force, with consent, not with performance, with inward rest. And if you cannot yet fully be, then be willing. Be willing to release strain. Be willing to stop contradicting the desire. Be willing to let the old methods become softer. Be willing to let sleep receive a calmer command. Willingness is already a movement away from anxious effort. I am willing to stop for I am willing to stop contradicting the fulfilled state. I am willing to rest as the one. I am willing to let my desire become inevitable through acceptance. Let this willingness descend. The mind does not need to do more now. The body does not need to prove more now. The heart does not need to ache louder to be heard by God. The I am within you is not deaf. It does not require pain as evidence of sincerity. It requires state, and state can be chosen in stillness. Let anxious practice become quiet. Let the need to check become quiet. Let the spiritual pressure become quiet. Let the old performance become quiet. What remains is being, simple being. I am. And what follows I am becomes the world you meet. I am already the one. I am resting in the fulfilled wish. I am no longer contradicting my desire. I am allowing it to become inevitable. Again softly. I am allowing it to become inevitable. Now let even these words grow lighter. The lesson is not to burden you with more to remember. The lesson is to remove the burden of anxious effort. You may sleep tonight without trying to force the unseen. You may sleep without rehearsing the absence. You may sleep without proving that you are spiritual enough, disciplined enough, worthy enough, patient enough. You may sleep as one who has entered the state. The state is the work. The state is the prayer. The state is the command. The state is the seed. And the state accepted in stillness does more than all anxious effort performed from lack. Rest there. Do not work harder. Contradict less. Do not push more. Accept more. Do not wrestle. Enter. Do not chase. Be. You cannot wrestle the desire into form while feeling separate from it. So tonight, let separation soften. Let the distance collapse inwardly. Let the desire no longer be. Let it become a place you rest in. Let it become a state you inhabit. Let it become natural enough that the body can sleep. And as you sleep, the law receives not your strain but your being. The law does not answer strain, it answers being. Be fulfilled, be accepted, be the one, rest in the state, and let the desire become inevitable because you have ceased to oppose it from within. Now we come to the hidden place where all true creation begins, not in the outer, not in the first visible sign, not in the letter that arrives, not in the word that is spoken, not in the door that opens, not in the circumstance that changes. These are the later things. These are the garments placed upon what was already decided in consciousness. The beginning is invisible. The invisible decision precedes the visible event. Let that settle gently. The invisible decision precedes the visible event. Most men are trained to wait for the world to decide for them. They wait for the world to show them they are loved before they dare feel chosen. They wait for money to appear before they dare feel secure. They wait for health to be proven before they dare feel whole. They wait for opportunity to come before they dare feel called. They wait for a person, a circumstance, a letter, a voice, a sign, a change, and only then do they allow themselves the inner privilege of becoming. But this is the reverse of the law. The world is late. Consciousness is first. The world is late. Consciousness is first. The outer world is not the author. It is the manuscript after the word has been written within. It is not the seed. It is the harvest. It is not the decree. It is the kingdom obeying the decree. It is not the cause. It is the arranged effect. And because men do not see the invisible decision, they worship the visible event. They think the event began itself. They think fortune began with a meeting. Love began with a message. Wealth began with a payment. Healing began with a report. Success began with an invitation. But long before the event moved outwardly, consciousness had moved inwardly. There is always an invisible yes before the visible form. There is always an inner assumption before the outer confirmation. Tonight, I want you to become aware of that secret place within you where the decision is made. Not the surface decision of the mind that says, I want this. Wanting is not yet decision. Wanting can still be weak. Wanting can still be divided. Wanting can still feel far away. Wanting says, this would please me. But a creative decision says, this is now my state. That is different. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. Not when you know the how. Not when you see the first sign. Not when reason agrees. Not when the world appears ready. But when, in the secret chamber of your own being, you cease asking permission to be the one you desire to be. This is the invisible decision. It is not noisy. It is not dramatic. It may not even feel like a great emotional moment. It may arrive as quiet relief. It may feel like a door softly closing behind you, the door to the old state, the old waiting, the old argument, the old identity that asked life again and again, may I have this? Am I allowed? Is it possible? Will it happen? And when that door closes, no trumpet may sound. The room may look the same. The night may be silent. The body may be lying still. But something has changed. The old state is no longer being asked to advise the future. You have not decided, I will force this. You have decided, this is now my state. There is great power in this distinction. The mind may say, I decide that I want, but that is still desire standing at a distance. The deeper decision says, I decide that I am. I am the one who is loved. I am the one who is provided for. I am the one who is healed. I am the one who is chosen. I am the one who is free. I am the one for whom the way is already made. This decision is not made by shouting. It is made by occupying. It is not made by forcing the senses to agree. It is made by no longer giving the senses final authority. It is not made by denying appearances in anger. It is made by placing appearances where they belong, as echoes, as reflections, as late witnesses of an older state. The world is late. Consciousness is first. If you understand this, you will stop waiting for the late thing to authorize the first thing. You will stop saying, when the world changes, I will become. You will stop saying, when the evidence appears, I will believe. You will stop saying, when the person moves, I will feel chosen. You will stop saying, when the money comes, I will feel secure. You will stop saying, when the door opens, I will feel called. You will reverse the order. You will become inwardly, and the world being late will follow. This is not pretending. Pretending is still aware of itself as performance. Pretending still watches the world, hoping to be believed. The invisible decision is different. It is an inward settlement. It is a covenant made in consciousness. It is the secret agreement between I am and the state it chooses to wear. It says, I do not wait for the old world to crown me. I put on the crown in consciousness. It says, I do not ask circumstances to name me. I answer to the name of the fulfilled self. It says, I do not remain divided. I enter. The invisible decision is like placing a seal upon a letter. The contents have already been written. The word has already been chosen. The message is complete. The seal does not argue with the messenger. It does not ask the road how long it will take. It does not consult the weather, the distance, the opinions of men. It simply closes the matter and releases it into movement. So it is with consciousness. When the state is sealed within, the bridge begins to move outwardly. The messenger may take a path unknown to you, but the decree has already gone forth. Tonight, the question is not, can I make it happen? The question is, will I seal the state within? Not with pressure, with acceptance, not with tension, with a quiet yes, not with mental argument, with inward identity. There is a moment in every true manifestation when the desire stops being a thing you are begging life to deliver and becomes a place you occupy. It is subtle. The eyes may not notice it. No one outside you may know. You may be lying in bed, the room dark, the body still, the world unchanged. Yet within, a line is crossed. The desire is no longer merely ahead of you. It is no longer floating in possibility. It is no longer a condition to be negotiated. This is the holy moment. Creation begins there, not when the senses applaud, not when the world agrees, not when another person acts, not when the money is counted, not when the house is entered, not when the body shows evidence. Creation begins when consciousness inwardly accepts the end as identity. The invisible decision precedes the visible event. Now many avoid this decision because they fear disappointment. They think, if I decide within and the world has not yet shown it, I may be hurt. And so they remain in maybe. They hold the desire at arm's length. They say, I want it, but I will not fully enter. I hope for it, but I will not become it. I will wait to see what life does before I give myself to the state. They believe this protects them, but it does not protect them. It keeps them suspended between worlds. To avoid disappointment, they avoid possession. To avoid risk, they avoid the state. To avoid seeming foolish, they remain loyal to the old identity. But the law cannot express what is never accepted. The seed cannot grow while it is still being held in the hand, inspected, doubted, measured, and withheld from the soil. At some point, the seed must be placed into darkness. At some point, the inner decision must be made. At some point, you must cease holding the desire as a possibility and plant it as fact. Planting is an act of trust, but it is not blind trust. It is trust in law. A farmer does not see the entire tree when he covers the seed, yet he knows the nature of seed and soil. He knows that hiddenness is not failure. He knows that darkness is not absence. He knows that the first work of growth is invisible. So he places the seed, covers it, and does not dig it up every hour to ask whether life is faithful. So tonight, let your desire as a state, not as please let this be, as this is now my state. If the desire is love, the decision is not I want to be loved. It is I am loved now in consciousness. I am one who is chosen. I am one who belongs to love. If the desire is wealth, the decision is not I want money. It is I am provided for. I am one for whom supply is natural. If the desire is healing, the decision is not I want to become whole. It is I am whole in the state I now occupy. If the desire is success, the decision is not I hope to rise. It is I am one who naturally rises. Do not merely name the object, name the self. This is where creation begins. The object follows the self. The event follows the state. The circumstance follows identity. The world does not ask, what does this man desire? It asks, who is this man conscious of being? The world does not ask, what does this woman hope for? It asks, what state does she inhabit? The law does not answer longing. It answers assumption. Therefore, let the decision be identity. This is now my state. Again, this is now my state. Let the words be slow. Let them not awaken pride. Let them awaken settlement. This is now my state. The old world may still speak, but this is now my state. The old evidence may still appear. Memory may still present its images, but this is now my state. Fear may still ask questions, but this is now my state. Do you see? The decision is not a violent refusal to see. It is a quiet refusal to be governed by what is seen. You may see the old world and yet not belong to it inwardly. You may hear the old echo and yet not speak the old word again. You may remember the old state and yet not sleep in it. The invisible decision is that you no longer give your deepest loyalty to absence. You give it to the fulfilled wish. Allegiance matters. A man may say he wants freedom while giving allegiance to bondage. He thinks from bondage, reacts from bondage, sleeps in bondage, interprets every event as proof of bondage. His words say freedom, but his allegiance says chains. Another man may still see the appearance of limitation, yet inwardly he gives allegiance to freedom. He thinks from freedom. He returns to freedom when fear speaks. He sleeps in freedom. He interprets events as part of the bridge. His world must change because allegiance has changed. Tonight, change allegiance, not with strain, with quiet decision, not by hating the old state, by no longer calling it home. The invisible decision is like closing a door to an old room. You need not curse the room. You need not destroy it. You need not explain why you lived there. Perhaps for a while you still remember its furniture. Perhaps you still hear sounds from within. Perhaps habit tempts you to turn the handle again. But the decision has been made. You no longer live there. The old room of waiting, the old room of maybe, the old room of not yet, the old room of if the world allows it, the old room of I am trying, the old room of I am separate from my desire. Tonight, the door closes, gently, only decision, and another door opens, the door of the fulfilled state. You do not need to see everything inside at once. You only need to enter. The air may feel unfamiliar. The silence may feel new. The identity may feel larger than the one you have worn. But remain. Let the room become natural. Let the body become used to it. Let the breath discover that it can move here. Let the mind discover that it no longer has to stand outside and beg. Enter it. Sit there. Rest there. Sleep there. Do not stand at the threshold forever. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. Negotiation is exhausting. It sounds like this: I will believe if I see something. I will relax if it happens soon. I will feel chosen if they speak. I will feel secure if the money appears. I will feel whole if the body confirms. I will be at peace if the world gives me proof. This is bargaining with effects. It makes the world the source and consciousness the servant. Tonight the bargain ends, not because the world is condemned, because the world is returned to its proper place. The world is effect. Consciousness is cause. The world is reflection. Consciousness is face. The world is echo. Consciousness is voice. The world is late. Consciousness is first. Let these truths become simple. Do not hold them with intellectual strain. Let them soothe the mind that has been trying to make the world decide. The world need not decide first. You decide inwardly. You decide by state. You decide by accepting being, and then the world, late but faithful, must reveal the decision in form. Now some will ask, how do I make this invisible decision? You do not make it by clenching the mind. You do not make it by repeating a sentence with violence. You do not make it by pretending there is no old emotion. You make it by turning inward and accepting one state as your dwelling. You say in feeling, this is who I am now. You return to that feeling. You stop feeding the opposite. You sleep in that feeling. You let it become more natural than the old argument. It may begin very gently. I accept the fulfilled state. I accept the end. I accept being the one. I accept that this is now my state. Let the body hear it. I accept the fulfilled state. Not I beg, not I wait for permission. I accept it. Acceptance is the invisible decision. Acceptance is the seal. Acceptance is the seed entering soil. Acceptance is the door closing to the old state. Acceptance is the covenant of consciousness. The covenant is not with another. It is not with the world. It is not with circumstance. It is between I am and the state it now chooses. I am is the power. The state is the garment. When I am, if I am accepts lack, lack appears. If I am accepts rejection, rejection appears. If I am accepts being chosen, chosenness appears. If I am accepts abundance, supply appears. If I am accepts wholeness, life moves toward wholeness. This is why the invisible decision must be rooted in I am. Not merely I want love, but I am loved. Not merely I want wealth, but I am provided for. Not merely I want peace, but I am at peace. Not merely I want freedom, but I am free. The I am must no longer stand outside the desire. It must enter the fulfilled identity. This is the decision. I am this now, not because the senses have reported it, because consciousness has chosen. I am this now, not because the bridge is visible, because the state is accepted. I am this now, not because the world has granted permission, because I no longer ask permission inwardly. Creation begins when you stop asking permission inwardly. Let that be the emotional truth of this section. Creation begins when you stop asking permission inwardly. How often has the inner life asked permission? May I feel loved? May I feel safe? May I feel wealthy? May I feel free? May I feel chosen? May I feel fulfilled? And to whom was it asking? To old memories, to appearances, to former failures, to the senses, to the very shadows that had no creative power except the power consciousness gave them. Tonight, take that power back, not by aggression, by decision. You do not ask the past whether you may become new. The past has no authority except repetition. You do not ask fear whether you may feel safe. Fear can only advise more fear. You do not ask the mirror whether you may change your face. You change the face. You do not ask the echo whether a new word may be spoken. You speak the new word and let the echo return in time. The invisible decision is the new word. The fulfilled state is the new face. The assumption is the new seed, and the world will follow. Not because you forced it, because law is faithful. Now, as you listen, begin to sense that the desire is no longer pleading at the edge of your life. It is asking to be allowed into identity. It is asking you to stop refusing the state. Perhaps the refusal has been subtle. Perhaps you have wanted the desire intensely, yet refused to feel worthy of it. Perhaps you have prayed for it, yet refused to feel safe having it. Perhaps you have imagined it, yet refused to believe it could be natural for you. That is the hidden negotiation. Tonight the negotiation can end. You need not know how every doubt will disappear. You need not solve every old memory. You need not answer every objection. You need only turn toward the state and say, this is now my dwelling. The old objections may grow quieter as the dwelling becomes familiar. Do not wait for all doubt to leave before entering. Enter, and doubt loses its home. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. Again, a desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. And softer, no more negotiation. The state is accepted. No more asking the old world. The state is accepted. Let the phrase, the state is accepted, become a seal. The state is accepted. A seal upon the inner letter, the state is accepted. A seed placed in the dark, the state is accepted. A covenant in consciousness, the state is accepted. A door closing to the old identity, the state is accepted. Now do not look for a sensation of thunder. If it comes, let it come, but it is not required. The deepest decisions are often quiet. A man may decide his whole future in a breath, and no one in the room will know. A woman may leave an old state in the silence before sleep, and the world will only discover it later. The invisible decision does not seek witnesses, it seeks occupancy. Tonight, occupy. Occupy the end. Occupy the fulfilled self. Occupy the quiet knowledge that the world is late and consciousness is first. If your desire has seemed far, do not try to drag it near. Enter the state where it is already near. If your desire has seemed uncertain, do not ask the world to remove uncertainty. Enter the state where the inner decision has already been made. If your desire has seemed dependent on others, do not attempt to control them. Enter the state where you are already the one, and let the bridge form. This is the dignity of the law. It never requires you to violate another. It never requires you to panic. It never requires you to force. It requires only that you become faithful to the chosen state. From that state, life arranges the means in ways the outer mind could not design. The invisible decision is simple, but the old self may resist its simplicity. It prefers struggle because struggle makes it feel involved. It prefers complexity because complexity postpones the responsibility of being. It prefers endless preparation because preparation allows it to avoid entering. But tonight, we do not prepare forever. We enter, not perfectly, not dramatically, but inwardly. This is now my state. Say it softly. This is now my state. Let the body rest. This is now my state. Let the old world become less authoritative. This is now my state. Let the desire stop floating and begin belonging. If the phrase feels too broad, make it personal to the desire without naming too many details. I am loved now. I am provided for now. I am whole now. I am free now. I am chosen now. I am successful now. I am at peace now. The exact words matter less than the inward settlement. Choose the words that allow the state to feel like a room you can sleep in. I am loved now. The state is accepted. I am provided for now. The state is accepted. I am whole now. The state is accepted. I am free now. The state is accepted. I am already the one. The state is accepted. Do not hurry. Let each phrase fall into the deep as a seed falls into soil. The soil does not demand explanation. The soil receives. The subconscious, in the quiet of night, receives the state that is impressed upon it. If you give it negotiation, it grows delay. If you give it fear, it grows fear's reflection. If you give it acceptance, it begins to grow the accepted state. This is why the invisible decision matters before sleep. It is the instruction sealed in the deep. It is the final inward direction before the conscious mind lays down its tools. If you fall asleep still asking the old world for permission, the old world remains source in your experience. If you fall asleep having accepted the state, consciousness becomes source again. Tonight, source returns to its rightful place. Not the senses, not memory, not circumstance, not another person, not the visible road. Consciousness, consciousness first, the world after. Now, let this truth become restful. You do not need to see the event to make the decision. The event is not the beginning. The event is the arrival of what began invisibly. You do not need the fruit in your hand before the seed is real. You do not need the echo before the voice is spoken. You do not need the reflection before the face has changed. You do not need the bridge before the state is accepted. The invisible decision is enough to begin. Enough to begin. Not enough to satisfy the senses immediately, perhaps, but enough to begin creation. And creation begins in the invisible. So rest in the invisible. Let the visible be late. Let it catch up. Let it obey. Let it arrange. Let it follow. You remain with the decision. The invisible decision precedes the visible event. The world is late. Consciousness is first. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. Let these three truths circle softly in the room of the mind. The invisible decision precedes the visible event. The world is late. Consciousness is first. A desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer negotiated within. Again, more slowly. Invisible decision. Visible event. Consciousness first. World after. No more negotiation. state accepted. Let the words grow simpler as the night deepens. Decision, state, accepted, done. Decision, state, accepted, done. Now, if sleep begins to approach, let it approach. Do not hold yourself awake to understand more. The purpose of this teaching, it is the quiet turning from asking to accepting, from wanting to being, from possibility to inevitability. If that turning has begun even slightly, the section has done its work. You are no longer waiting for the world to decide who you may be. You are deciding in consciousness. You are no longer asking old evidence for permission. You are accepting the new state. You are no longer negotiating your desire with fear. You are placing the seal upon it. You are no longer standing outside the fulfilled wish. You are entering. The door to the old state closes gently. The seed enters the soil. The covenant is made within. The decree is silent. The state is accepted. And because consciousness is first, the world must follow. Now that the invisible decision has been made, the body must be invited to agree. For a state is not only a thought in the mind, it is a feeling in the flesh. It is a posture, a breath, a rhythm, a way of holding the eyes, a way of carrying the chest, a way of resting the hands. A man may say inwardly, "It is done," and yet the body may still prepare itself for disappointment. A woman may accept the end in imagination, and yet the stomach may still tighten, as though the old world were about to contradict her. This is why we must speak to the body tonight, not harshly, not as a master scolding a servant, but as one who gently teaches the servant that the old danger is passing away. The body must stop preparing for disappointment. Let that be received softly. The body must stop preparing for disappointment. For many have carried desire in the body as tension. They think of the thing they long for, and the body does not open, it braces. They think of love, and the chest protects itself against rejection. They think of wealth, and the stomach tightens against lack. They think of healing, and the mind watches for symptoms. They think of success, and the shoulders rise as though they must defend against failure. They think of the wish fulfilled, and instead of entering rest, the body whispers, "But what if it does not come?" This whisper of the body is not evil, it is old training, it is the echo of former states. It has been taught by repetition to expect contradiction. It has been taught to look for the blow after hope. It has been taught to prepare for the opposite of the desire. It has been taught that wanting is dangerous, because wanting may be followed by disappointment. And so even when consciousness begins to choose, the body may still stand guard before the old gate. Tonight, we do not condemn the body for this. We teach it another expectation. The body can become the first witness of the fulfilled state. Before the letter arrives, before the voice is heard, before the bridge is seen, before the outer world has fully taken shape, the body can begin to testify differently. The breath can become less afraid. The jaw can stop arguing. The chest can stop expecting pain. The hands can stop closing around absence. The face can become unhurried. The body can begin to say without words, "The desire is not in danger now." Let that be the feeling. My desire is not in danger now. Not because the senses have proved it, not because the world has shown it, not because every question has been answered, but because consciousness has chosen and the body is learning to rest in the chosen state. The old body lived as though contradiction were coming. The new body may begin to live as though fulfillment is natural. This does not require excitement. It does not require a thrill. It does not require dramatic emotion. In fact, the fulfilled state often becomes more powerful as it becomes calmer. Inevitability feels calm in the body. It feels like a deeper breath. It feels like shoulders no longer lifted toward the ears. It feels like a belly no longer guarding tomorrow. It feels like a face that has stopped negotiating with the world. It feels like quiet hands. It feels like a steady heart. Inevitability feels calm in the body. Again, inevitability feels calm in the body. If the body is still full of emergency, the state has not yet become natural, and this is not a reason to despair. It is only a sign to soften. When the body treats the desire as an emergency, the desire feels distant. When the body treats the desire as safe, the desire can come near. The body does not create apart from consciousness, but it reveals the state consciousness is wearing. It shows whether the end is being accepted as rest or pursued as rescue. So tonight, do not make your desire a rescue. Let it become a home. A rescue is urgent. A home is natural. A rescue is feared until it comes. A home is entered. A rescue keeps the body awake. A home lets the body sleep. Your fulfilled wish must become more like a home than a rescue. It must become a place the body can inhabit. It must not be so charged with danger that every mention of it tightens the flesh. It must not be treated as something fragile, distant, impossible, or dependent on the permission of the old world. Let it become safe. Let the body feel that the end is not a threat. Begin with the jaw. The jaw has been a faithful soldier of the old state. It has clenched around doubt. It has bitten down upon unspoken words. It has held back tears, anger, impatience, fear, and the question, why has it not happened yet? It has tried to hold the self together through tension. But the fulfilled state does not need a clenched jaw. The one who already is does not bite down upon life. The one who has entered the end does not need to defend every moment with the mouth. Let the jaw soften. Let the teeth separate slightly. Let the mouth become peaceful. You need not argue with life tonight. You need not bite the desire into form. You need not hold your state with force. Let the jaw belong to the fulfilled one. Let the jaw belong to the one who no longer expects contradiction. Now let the tongue rest. The tongue has shaped many inner sentences, some spoken aloud, many never spoken. It has formed the old speech of fear. What if it fails? What if nothing changes? What if I am foolish to believe? What if it is too late? What if the world says no? These questions may have passed through the tongue, through the throat, through the silent mind, until the body believed them. Tonight, the tongue does not need to prepare those words. It may rest in the mouth as though the old argument has no further work. Let the tongue be still. The old command need not be spoken. The old doubt need not be rehearsed. The desire is not in danger now. The state is accepted. Let the throat open. Many hold desire in the throat as a withheld cry. They want to speak the end, but fear tightens the passage. They want to say, it is done, but the throat says, is it? They want to breathe the fulfilled state, but the body remembers old disappointment. Tonight, let the throat no longer be the gatekeeper of fear. Let it open gently, not dramatically. Let there be space. Let the breath pass without asking permission from the old state. You do not need to plead tonight. You do not need to explain. You do not need to convince. The fulfilled state can be quiet. The inevitable does not need a strained voice. Let the throat rest in the decision already made. Now let the chest be noticed. The chest is often the place where the body waits for contradiction. It tightens before the letter is opened. It tightens before the word is spoken. It tightens before the imagined result, as though expecting life to say no. It may have become so accustomed to guarding that even hope feels dangerous. But the chest of the fulfilled state is different. It is not proud. It is not inflated. It is not performing confidence. It is simply less guarded. It has room for breath. It has room for the desire. It has room for receiving. Let the chest soften. Let it not collapse. Let it not force itself open. Only let the old armor loosen. A little. That is enough. The desire is not in danger now. Let the chest hear that. The desire is not in danger now. Let the breath become the first proof that the state is changing, not the proof demanded from the world, the proof rising from within. An easier breath may be the first witness. A softer chest may be the first witness. A quieter body may be the first witness. Let the body become the first witness of the fulfilled state. Now notice the breath, not to control it, not to turn it into a method, only to notice whether it has been breathing from waiting or from possession. The breath of waiting is often shallow. It leans into the next moment. It seems to say, soon, perhaps, not yet. What if? The breath of possession is more settled. It may not be deep in a dramatic way, but it is less hurried. It comes and goes as though the next moment does not have to rescue you. It has a quiet dignity. Do not force the breath. Let it remember the end. Let it breathe as though the desire is not in danger. Let it breathe as though the state is accepted. Let it breathe as though there is nothing to chase in this hour. A breath from the fulfilled state is very simple. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It only says, I am not outside the desire. I am resting in it. Let one breath carry that feeling. Then another, if it comes. No counting. No pressure. No performance. The breath knows how to move when fear stops commanding it. Now let the stomach release. The stomach has often been the chamber of anticipation. It tightens when the old self expects bad news. It knots when the mind imagines delay. It contracts around uncertainty, as though by tightening it could control life. Many carry their old assumptions here. not as words, but as sensation. The stomach may not say, I doubt, but it may tighten in the presence of the desire. It may not say, I expect contradiction, but it may guard itself as though contradiction is certain. Tonight, let the stomach be taught another law. You do not need to protect yourself from the fulfilled wish. You do not need to brace against your own desire. You do not need to expect the opposite anymore. Let the belly soften. Let it not be forced, only invited. Let it be allowed to loosen by a little. The body learns through repetition. It may not trust all at once. That is all right. A little release is enough. A little less guarding is enough. The body is beginning to hear that consciousness has chosen a new state. It does not need to prepare for disappointment in the same way. It does not need to rehearse the old fall. It does not need to meet the desire with fear. The desire can be safe in the body. Say that inwardly. The desire can be safe in my body. Again. The desire can be safe in my body. Softer. Safe in the body. Safe in the breath. Safe in the heart. Safe in the state. Now let the hands be noticed. The hands often reveal the state. In fear they close. They grasp. They hold tightly. They seek to manage what belongs to the law. In longing, the hands may feel empty and restless. In the fulfilled state, the hands can be quiet. They can rest open. They need not grasp the future. They need not seize the bridge. They need not force the door. Let the hands become quiet. Let the fingers soften. Let the palms rest. If the hands are still, let them be still as the hands of one who receives, not begging hands, receiving hands, not grasping hands, quiet hands. The fulfilled state does not clutch. It holds naturally what belongs to it. It receives without panic. It releases without terror. It acts when moved, but it does not tremble in the waiting. Let the hands belong to that state tonight. Now let the shoulders drop if they wish. The shoulders have carried the burden of making life happen. They have carried the imagined responsibility of moving every circumstance, persuading every person, arranging every detail, preventing every disappointment. But the fulfilled state does not ask the shoulders to bear the universe. The bridge is not carried on your shoulders. The desire does not become inevitable because the body is tense. It becomes inevitable because the state is accepted. Let the shoulders release the how. Let the shoulders release the when. Let the shoulders release the need to supervise the world. Let them rest lower. Let them be ordinary. Let them be human. The law does not require your tension as payment. Now let the face become unhurried. This is important. The face often wears the state before the mind names it. A hurried face says, I must reach it. A guarded face says, I expect to be hurt. A strained face says, I do not yet believe. But the face of inevitability is not dramatic. It is not a mask of confidence. It is simply unhurried. The brow is not trying to solve the bridge. The eyes are not searching the darkness for proof. The mouth is not preparing complaint. The face rests as though the decision has been made. Let the face become unhurried. Let the brow smooth. Let the eyes rest. Let the mouth soften. Let the whole face stop expecting contradiction. Inevitability feels calm in the body. It may feel like this: soft jaw, quiet tongue, open throat, less guarded chest, easy breath, released stomach, quiet hands, low shoulders, unhurried face, steady heart. This is not a small thing. A body that no longer prepares for disappointment is already living differently. Before the world has shown the answer, before the bridge is visible, the nervous self has stopped guarding so fiercely against failure. Before the senses confirm, the flesh has begun to serve the new state. This is how the invisible decision becomes embodied. Let the body become the first witness of the fulfilled state. Again, let the body become the first witness of the fulfilled state. Do not say, there is no proof, if the breath has softened. Do not say, nothing has changed, if the chest no longer tightens as much. Do not say, it is not working, if the thought of the desire begins to feel less dangerous. These inner movements are not the final harvest, but they are signs that the seed has entered the soil. The first evidence is often not an event. It is the loss of inner opposition. This is where many overlook the beginning. They look outward and say, show me. But within them, the state is already changing. They once could not think of the desire without pain, and now it feels a little calmer. They once imagined the end and felt panic, and now they feel a little rest. They once expected contradiction immediately, and now there is a pause before fear. That pause is holy. It is the old state losing speed. Do not despise the pause. In the pause, freedom enters. In the pause, the new state can breathe. In the pause, the body stops obeying the old command. Now let us speak to the body directly, as one might speak to a faithful servant who has worked too long under the wrong command. You do not need to prepare for disappointment now. Let that be gentle. You do not need to prepare for disappointment now. You do not need to brace against the desire. You do not need to expect the opposite. You do not need to protect me from fulfillment. The state is accepted. The end is safe. The desire is not dangerous. The fulfilled wish is not a threat. Let the body receive this. It may not believe every word at once. It does not have to. We are not forcing the body. We are letting it hear a new instruction at the very hour when instruction enters most deeply. The mind may soften, the senses may fade, the old defenses may become less sharp. In this softness, the body can learn. The body must stop preparing for disappointment, not by command, by safety, not by pressure, by repeated rest in the end, not by denial, by a new expectation. Expectation is bodily. It is not only a thought. You can feel expectation in the muscles, the breath. A man expecting rejection carries himself differently from a man expecting welcome. A woman expecting failure breathes differently from one expecting fulfillment. One expecting delay looks at time differently from one resting in inevitability. The body is always listening to the state. Tonight, give it a new expectation. Expect the end to be safe. Expect the fulfilled wish to be natural. Expect the bridge to form without your panic. Expect that consciousness, having chosen, will be reflected. This expectation need not be loud. In fact, let it be quiet enough to sleep in. Loud expectation becomes excitement, and excitement may become tension. Quiet expectation is better for this night. Quiet expectation says, of course. Quiet expectation says, it is natural. Quiet expectation says, I do not need to watch anxiously. Quiet expectation says, the law is faithful. Let your desire begin to feel like of course, not as arrogance, as naturalness. Of course I am loved. Of course I am provided for. Of course I am guided. Of course I am chosen. Of course I am free. Of course the way is made. Of course the state is accepted. The phrase of course can soften the body because it removes drama. What is inevitable is not theatrical. The sun rises, and though men may admire it, the sun does not perform its rising with anxiety. The heart beats, and though life depends upon it, the heart does not boast. A seed grows, and though a forest may be hidden within it, the seed does not strain. Let your desire be brought into that same natural order. Of course, the state is accepted. Of course, the way is made. Of course, I am already the one. Now, if the old body says, but I have been disappointed before, answer with compassion. Do not fight the memory. Say inwardly, yes, that was the old state. You learned to guard. I understand. But we are learning another way now. The body does not need to be shamed for protecting itself. It only needs to be updated by the new assumption. The old state taught it to brace. The new state teaches it to rest. Rest does not mean foolishness. Rest means the body is no longer worshipping disappointment as prophecy. Rest means the body is no longer giving the old world the first word. Rest means the desire can be felt without the immediate shadow of failure. Rest means the fulfilled wish has become safe enough to inhabit. Let the fulfilled wish be safe enough to inhabit. If your desire is love, let the body stop expecting rejection. Not by pretending no one ever rejected you, but by no longer allowing rejection to define the state you sleep in. Let the chest soften around being chosen. Let the hands rest as though love can meet you naturally. Let the face stop scanning for abandonment. Let the body feel the safety of being loved now in consciousness. If your desire is wealth, let the body stop expecting lack. Let the stomach release the old anticipation of not enough. Let the shoulders release the burden of forcing every channel. Let the breath open around provision. Let the hands rest as though receiving is normal. Let the body feel the safety of being provided for, now in consciousness. If your desire is healing, let the body stop expecting danger in every sensation. Let the breath move without fear. Let the heart be steady in wholeness. Let the muscles be less loyal to alarm. Let the body feel the safety of vitality now in consciousness. If your desire is success, let the body stop expecting failure. Let the face become unhurried. Let the chest feel worthy of visibility. Let the hands rest from proving. Let the mind stop preparing excuses. Let the body feel the safety of rising now in consciousness. Whatever the desire, the principle is one. The body must stop preparing for disappointment and begin to carry the quiet atmosphere of fulfillment. Now, do not require the body to become perfect tonight. That would be another effort. Let it change gently. If the jaw softens, that is enough. If the breath opens slightly, that is enough. If the stomach releases for one moment, that is enough. If the desire feels a little less painful, that is enough. If the body can imagine the end without immediate contraction, that is enough. Small physical agreement is powerful. A state becomes inevitable through agreement. Mind, body, feeling, inner word, imagination, all moving toward one conclusion, not all at once perhaps, but increasingly. The old state was maintained by agreement too. The mind thought fear, the body tightened, the inner word repeated delay, the imagination pictured contradiction, the senses were crowned as final. All these agreed, and the old world repeated. Now the agreement changes. The mind hears the end, the body softens, the inner word says, it is done. The imagination enters the fulfilled state. The senses are no longer enthroned, and life begins to reflect the new agreement. Let your body agree now, not with strain, with rest. Let the jaw agree, let the breath agree, let the chest agree, let the stomach agree, let the hands agree, let the heart agree, let the face agree. The state is accepted, the desire is safe, the end is natural, the way is made. Again slowly, the state is accepted, the desire is safe, the end is natural, the way is made. Not to awaken thought, but to soothe the old expectation of contradiction. The body has heard many warnings. Tonight it hears permission. Permission to stop bracing. Permission to stop waiting for disappointment. Permission to let fulfillment feel safe. Permission to let inevitability be calm. Inevitability feels calm in the body. Not frantic. Calm, not sharp. Calm, not tense. Calm, not desperate. Let this calm be more convincing than excitement. Excitement may rise and fall. Calm can remain. Excitement may still contain disbelief, for one is often excited by what feels unusual, but calm suggests belonging. Calm says, this is not foreign. Calm says, this may be normal for me. Calm says, the desire does not shock my being. Calm says, I can sleep in this state. Not a state that makes the heart race, not a state that turns the desire into a performance, a state you can sleep in. The fulfilled wish must become sleepable. The desire must become safe enough that the body can surrender while holding it. If the body can sleep with the desire fulfilled in feeling, then the subconscious receives it deeply. If the body can rest as the one, then identity has begun to change. If the body can stop preparing for contradiction, then the old future has lost a powerful servant. So now, rest as though the desire is no longer in danger. Rest as though the state has already been accepted. Rest as though the bridge does not need your tension. Rest as though the world can catch up. Rest as though consciousness has chosen. The body may become the first witness tonight, not the final witness, the first. A softer breath is an unhurried face is a witness. Open hands are witnesses. A steadier heart is a witness. The body says, I am no longer preparing for the old disappointment in the same way. Bless that witness. Do not demand more than the night gives. The night is gentle. It does not tear the old state from you. It loosens it. It does not shout the new state into you. It lets it descend. The body learns by atmosphere. The state is safe. Receiving is safe. Being the one is safe. No contradiction needs to be expected. Now, let the words become fewer. The desire is safe. The state is accepted. The body can rest. The end is natural. Again, the desire is safe. The state is accepted. The body can rest. The end is natural and softer. Safe desire. Accepted state. Resting body. It does not need a long argument. It needs a new feeling. It needs the permission to stop bracing. It needs the sense that the desire is no longer a threat. It needs the calm of inevitability. So allow the jaw to be soft. Allow the chest to be less guarded. Allow the stomach to stop watching tomorrow. Allow the hands to be quiet. Allow the face to be unhurried. Allow the heart to be steady. Allow the breath to move as one who is not waiting. You are sleeping in the fulfilled state. You are not preparing for contradiction. You are allowing the body to witness the end. You are not making the desire happen by tension. You are letting the desire become inevitable through agreement. Let the body become the first witness of the fulfilled state. The body must stop preparing for disappointment. Inevitability feels calm in the body. Let these truths settle softly. First witness, no disappointment, calm inevitability. And now let the body rest as though the desire is already safe. Safe, accepted, natural, inevitable. The state has begun to move from thought into flesh. The invisible decision has found a body, and a body that rests in the fulfilled state is already living from another world. Now we come to the root, not the branches of desire, not the leaves of circumstance, not the fruit. If you would make the desire inevitable, you must not leave it as something you want. You must bring it to the root of being. You must bring it to I am. For I tell you, I want is not the creative name. I want may be honest, but it is not final. I want still speaks from distance. I want still acknowledges separation. I want says, there is something outside me, and I stand here without it. It may begin the journey, but the desire becomes yours when it becomes identity. The desire becomes yours when it becomes identity. Let this be felt slowly. The desire becomes yours when it becomes identity. A man may say, I want to be loved, and still feel unwanted. He may say, I want to be wealthy, and still feel poor. He may say, I want to be healed, and still feel broken. He may say, I want to be free, and still feel bound. And the law, being faithful, does not answer the surface desire as much as it answers the inward identity. The deeper question is not, what do you want, but who are you conscious of being? This is why I speak of I am. I am is the root. Before you can say anything about yourself, before you can name your desire, your fear, your history, your hope, your body, your world, you must first be aware that you are. I am is, it is the very light by which all thoughts appear. It is the living center. It is the name of being within you. And what you attach to I am becomes the garment consciousness wears. What follows I am becomes the garment consciousness wears. If you say not only with lips but with feeling, I am unwanted, consciousness wears that garment, and the world approaches you through that pattern. If you say I am poor, not as a sentence alone, but as an inward fact, consciousness wears poverty, and circumstances gather to confirm it. If you say I am failing, the world becomes a stage upon which failure continues to perform. If you say I am always waiting, delay becomes familiar, not because the universe is cruel, but because I am, clothed in a state, must express the garment it has accepted. I am is not description, it is decree. The world taught you to think of I am as a report. I am tired, I am afraid, I am behind, I am not chosen, I am not ready, I am unlucky, I am alone. Men speak this way as though they are merely describing what has already happened. But in the depths of consciousness, such speech is not merely description, it is instruction. And life, faithful mirror that it is, begins to clothe that name in form. This is why you must become tender and exact with I am, not frightened, not superstitious, but awake. For every time you join a feeling to I am, you are not simply observing yourself, you are choosing a state. You are placing a garment upon the invisible man. You are telling the subconscious, this is who I am. And the subconscious, which does not. Now do not use this as another reason to strain. Do not become anxious over every passing thought. Passing thoughts are not the same as occupied identity. A bird may cross the sky, but the sky is not the bird. A fearful word may pass through the mind, but you need not dwell in it. The power is not in every fleeting sentence, but in what you accept, return to, and feel as true of yourself. Tonight, we are not policing thought. We are choosing I. Your desire cannot remain merely an object. It must become I am, not I want love, I am loved, not I want to be chosen, I am chosen, not I want freedom, I am free, not I want wealth, I am provided for, I am wealthy in consciousness, I am one for whom supply is natural, not I want healing, I am whole, I am restored, I am life expressing harmony, I am already the one. This is the movement from longing to identity. This is the movement from distance to possession. This is the movement from possibility to inevitability. For as long as the desire remains outside I am, it remains conditional. It remains something to be reached, hoped for, watched, begged, or measured. But when the desire joins I am, it becomes inward fact. The law now has a state to express. The I do not ask you to repeat "I am" in a loud or aggressive way. That is not the manner of this night. A forced "I am" may still be fear. A shouted "I am" may still be argument. A tense "I am" may still be protest against the old state. The "I am" that impresses the deep is often quiet. It is a still acceptance. It is a soft inward settlement. It is not the voice of one trying to overpower doubt. If you say "I am loved," say it as though the body may rest in being loved. If you say "I am chosen," say it as though the heart no longer needs to audition before life. If you say "I am free," say it as though the chest can open. If you say "I am provided for," say it as though the shoulders may lower. If you say "I am healed," say it as though the body is being bathed in the quiet command of wholeness. If you say "I am already the one," say it as though the old search has begun to dissolve. The feeling must be natural enough to enter sleep. That is important. Tonight we are not building a phrase that awakens the mind. We are choosing an identity that can descend into the subconscious. The phrase must not be a battle cry. It must be a garment you can wear in rest. If a phrase feels too large and the body resists it, soften the entrance without abandoning the state. Perhaps instead of "I am wealthy," you say "I am provided for." Perhaps instead of "I am perfectly loved," you say "I am loved now." Perhaps instead of "I am completely free," you say "I am entering freedom." Perhaps instead of "I am healed," you say "I am whole in the state I now accept." The purpose is not to impress the outer mind with grandeur. The purpose is to bring "I am" into agreement with the fulfilled state. Do not make the words grander than the feeling can receive. Make them true enough to rest in. I am is holy because it is the root of all experience. The branch does not argue with the root. The fruit does not appear independent of the seed. If the root is clothed in lack, the branches will show lack. If the root is clothed in fulfillment, the branches must change. Many try to hang new fruit on an old tree. They want the outer event to change while the root remains. But the law is not fooled by decoration. Change the root, and the fruit follows. Therefore, tonight return to the root. I am. Before the desire, I am. Before the problem, I am. Before the memory, I am. Before the evidence, I am. Before the world speaks, I am. Before anyone chooses or rejects, I am. Before the bridge appears, I am. And then feel how each phrase is not merely asking, it is naming. It is not reaching, it is wearing. It is not explaining, it is decreeing. And decree in this sense need not be loud. A king may sign a decree in silence, and the kingdom moves. So consciousness may accept a state in silence, and life moves. It is the authority of being, not the volume of speech that matters. I am is not description, it is decree. I do not feel that I am chosen. I do not feel that I am free. I do not feel that I am provided for. I do not feel that I am healed. Do not fight the objection. It is only the former garment speaking. It has been worn long, perhaps. It has become familiar. But familiarity is not truth. It is repetition. The old "I am" may feel natural because you have slept in it many nights. Tonight you begin to sleep in another. A garment may feel strange when first placed upon the body, but if worn, it becomes familiar. A state may feel new when first assumed, but if occupied, it becomes natural. You are not required to prove the new garment to the old one. You are only required to wear it. Let the old state say, "This is not me," and answer gently, "It is what I am now accepting." The old state says, "I have evidence." You answer, "Consciousness is first." What follows "I am" becomes the garment consciousness wears. So tonight, remove the old garment without hatred. Do not tear at it. Do not curse it. Do not dramatize its removal. Simply let it fall from use. I am not waiting. I am not waiting. I am not outside the fulfilled wish. I am not the old story. I am not the evidence of yesterday. I am free. I am whole. I am loved. Let the phrases come slowly. They are not meant to awaken excitement. They are meant to clothe consciousness. The body may need time to settle into them. Let each one be like a soft robe placed around the shoulders of the inner man. I am loved. Do not reach for someone. Feel the state. I am chosen. Do not search for proof. Feel the identity. I am free. Feel the source. I am whole. Do not argue with sensation. Feel the deeper command. I am already the one. Do not wait to arrive. Feel the arrival within. The desire becomes yours when it becomes identity. If your desire is love, then love must no longer be only something you seek from another. It must become part of your I am. I am loved. I am chosen. I am wanted. I am the one who is met with tenderness. From that state, life arranges its witnesses. The persons and events are the reflection. The state is the cause. If your desire is wealth, then wealth must no longer be merely money outside you. It must become part of your I am. I am provided for. I am secure. I am one for whom supply is natural. I am wealthy in consciousness. Say this not to worship money, but to dwell in the state of provision. From that state, channels appear. The payment, the opportunity, the idea, the gift, the opening. These are reflections. The state is the cause. If your desire is healing, then healing must no longer be something far in the body's future. It must become part of your I am. I am whole. I am restored. I am life expressing harmony. I am the one in whom vitality is natural. Say this not to fight the body, but to give the body. If your desire is success, then success must no longer be a prize you hope the world grants you. It must become part of your I am. I am capable. I am recognized. I am one who rises naturally. I am guided. I am successful in the state I now occupy. Say this not as pride, but as identity. The world responds to the one you are conscious of being. Always the same principle. Now I want you to notice something subtle. When you say I want, the body often leans forward. When you say I am, with acceptance, the body can settle. Wanting is movement toward. Being is rest within. Wanting is often future. Being is present. Wanting may be sincere, but being is creative. This does not mean desire is wrong. Desire is the voice of expansion within you. But desire must let the wanting become being. Let the hope become identity. Let the wish become I am. This is the root that makes the desire yours. Now, as the body rests, allow the words I am to become very simple. Do not hurry to attach anything yet. Just feel the sense of being. I am, before the name. I am, before the story. I am, before the desire. I am, before the world appears within it. But I am is prior. This is why transformation is possible. If you were truly the old state, you could not leave it. But you are not the state. You are the awareness that wears states. You can put on another. I am is the wearer. The state is the garment. The world is the reflection. Remember this gently. I am is the wearer. The state is the garment. The world is the reflection. If you do not like if you do not like the harvest, do not curse the field. Plant another seed in I am. If you do not like the echo, do not fight the valley. Speak another word from I am. This is the creative root. Now, let the fulfilled desire join the root. I am loved. Let it rest. I am chosen. Let it rest. I am free. Let it rest. I am provided. Let the one that opens the body remain. If I am already the one holds everything for you, use it. It is a broad and powerful phrase. It does not require many details. It says that you have moved from seeker to inhabitant, from waiting to being, from longing to identity. I am already the one. Again, I am already the one. Not someday, already. Not if the world agrees, already. Not after. This phrase can carry love, wealth, freedom, healing, success, peace, any desire that has been placed in the end. It does not describe the road. It names the self at the end. And the self at the end is the one the world must reflect. Now, if that phrase feels too strong, soften it without leaving the path. I am becoming natural in the fulfilled state. I am entering the state of the one. I am allowing myself to be the one. But do not remain forever at the doorway. Eventually, the words may become simpler. I am the one. I am the one. I am the one. The body need not be startled. Let it hear the phrase like a lullaby of identity, not a battle cry. A lullaby, a soft decree spoken at the edge of sleep, when reason lowers its guard and the subconscious receives the feeling beneath the words. I am the one who is whole, the one whose desire is already accepted, the one for whom the way is made. Let the feeling be more important than the list. If the list awakens thought, return to one phrase. I am the one. That is enough. The subconscious does not require a long speech. It receives identity. It receives what feels true. It receives what is worn as self. I am is not description. It is decree. What follows? The desire becomes yours when it becomes identity. Let these truths settle. Now look gently at the opposite. How often has I am been joined to the old condition? Not always in words, perhaps, but in feeling. I am waiting. I am not chosen. I am behind. I am unlucky. I am afraid. I am not enough. I am the one who is always delayed. I am the one for whom it does not happen. I am the one who tries but does not. But you need not fear them now. A decree can be replaced by another decree. A garment can be changed. A state can be left. You do not have to repair every old sentence one by one. You return to the root and clothe it differently. I am loved. I am chosen. I am provided for. I am free. I am whole. I am already the one. The new identity does not need to argue with every old identity. If the old evidence speaks, return. Return not anxiously, but faithfully. I am already the one. Return there. I am provided for. Return there. I am chosen. Return there. I am free. Return there. This return is not effort in the anxious sense. It is loyalty. It is devotion to the chosen state. It is the repeated wearing of the garment until the garment feels natural. And once the garment feels natural, the world calls you by your accepted name. If within you answer to lack, life calls lack. If within you answer to rejection, life calls rejection. If within you answer to delay, life calls delay. But if within you begin to answer to fulfillment, life must learn the new name. It may take a moment for the old echoes to fade, but they are not final. The name has changed. I am the one. Let life learn that name. I am free. Let life learn that name. I am whole. Let life learn that name. The new name is not given by the world. It is accepted in consciousness. You do not wait for others to name you fulfilled. You name yourself from within, not with vanity, with law. You are not pretending to be superior. You are assuming a state. The state is creative, and the outer world must follow. Now, as you move nearer to sleep, let the I am, let it be felt in the chest, in the breath, in the quiet of the face. I am is not merely spoken in the head. It is sensed as being. It is the deep feeling of self. Let that feeling receive the new state. I am loved. Feel it as warmth. I am chosen. Feel it as rest. I am free. Feel it as space. I am provided for. Feel it as safety. I am whole. Feel it. A hint of warmth is enough. A little rest is enough. A little space is enough. A little safety is enough. The subconscious receives what is allowed. You need not force a grand feeling. You need to stop rejecting the new identity. Let the new identity be allowed. Allowed to be felt. Allowed to be worn. Allowed to be slept in. Allowed to become normal. If the desire has been treated as too big, too distant, too late, everything you experience is clothed by I am. The desire becomes inevitable when it is no longer outside your being. It becomes inevitable when you stop saying, I hope to have, and begin to feel, I am. The root does not chase the fruit. The root becomes, and the fruit appears. I am is the root. The desire must join the root. I am loved. I am chosen. I am free. I am provided for. I am whole. I am already the one. Now let one phrase be chosen by the body, not by pressure. Let it rise. Which phrase lets you breathe? Which phrase lets the face soften? Which phrase feels like a garment you can sleep in? It may be the simplest. I am already the one. Or perhaps I am loved. Or I am provided for. Or I am free. Or I am whole. Take the one that belongs to tonight. Let it be enough. You do not need to solve every desire with many words. One true I am can change the direction of consciousness. One accepted identity can begin a new world. Repeat it gently, if repeating feels natural. I am already the one. A breath. I am already the one. A softening. I am already. Or I am loved. A breath. I am loved. A softening. I am loved. A little rest. Let repetition be like rocking the mind towards sleep. Not mechanical, not frantic, not a test. A gentle return to identity. Each return says to the subconscious, this is the garment now. Each return loosens the old garment. Each return makes the desire less like an object and more like self. If the words disappear but the state remains, the work has deepened. Sleep does not need perfect sentences. It receives impression. It receives identity. It receives the last feeling of I am. I am already the one. May become already the one. Then the one. Then only the feeling of being the one. I am provided for. May become provided for. Then, do not fear the loss of words. The word is a boat. The feeling is the shore. Once you reach the shore, the boat has served its purpose. Now, rest in the root. I am. Let it be pure. I am. Let it be quiet. I am. Let it be clothed gently. I am already the one. I am loved. I am chosen. I am free. I am provided for. I am whole. I am in the fulfilled state. And what becomes identity becomes inevitable. Let that be the final movement of this section. Your desire becomes inevitable when it ceases to be only something you want and becomes something you are, not by outer proof, not by force, not by shouting, by inward decree, by quiet acceptance, by I am clothed in the fulfilled state. I am is not description, it is decree. So wear the garment now, wear it softly, wear it inwardly, wear it in sleep. I am already the one. I am already the one. I am already the one. And because I am has accepted the state, the world must learn to reflect it. Now, as the night gathers you more deeply, I want you to understand one final comfort. The law does not stop because you fall asleep. You do not lose the state because the conscious. You do not fail because the image softens. You do not fail because the body drifts beyond effort. Sleep is not an interruption. Sleep is the seal. Let that be received as relief. Sleep is not an interruption. Sleep is the seal. If you drift off while hearing these words, you have not failed the teaching. You have fulfilled it. If the phrase disappears and only a feeling remains, you have not lost the practice. You have. If the scene becomes dim and the body grows heavy, do not struggle to bring it back with force. The seed does not need to remain in the hand. It must be placed in the dark. And when sleep comes, the seed has gone where it can do its hidden work. A man does not plant a seed and then keep it in the light of his hand all night, watching it anxiously, proving to himself that it is still there. He places it in the earth. He covers it. He lets darkness do what the hand cannot do. So it is with the fulfilled state. You have chosen the end. You have accepted the state. You have entered the small scene. You have carried the phrase. And now if sleep comes, let sleep cover the seed. The seed is not dead because it is hidden. The seed is not lost because it is in darkness. The seed is not abandoned because the hand is no longer touching it. The dark is fertile. The unseen is not idle. The invisible is not weak. The root does not grow above the soil where the eye may praise it. It grows beneath, silently, faithfully, in a region where the surface mind cannot interfere. And when the root has done its secret work, the stem appears as if suddenly, but it was not sudden, it was unseen. This is how the law works while you sleep. The outer senses withdraw, and the inner state descends. The reasoning mind no longer argues with the desire. The guard lowers his sword. The phrase passes beneath debate. The small scene becomes a seed. The feeling of possession becomes instruction. The state accepted before sleep enters the subconscious and begins to arrange itself as life. You do not need to remain awake to supervise the law. This is one of the great burdens you may now lay down. Many believe that if they stop thinking of the desire, they will lose it. They believe that if they fall asleep, the state will vanish. They believe that if they do not hold the phrase tightly, the law will not know what to do. But the law is not a child requiring your anxious supervision. The law is order. The law is faithful. The law works through the deep when the conscious mind rests. Indeed, the law often works best when the conscious mind is no longer interrupting it. The conscious mind wants to measure, the deep mind receives. The conscious mind wants to ask how, the deep mind accepts the end. The conscious mind wants to check the world, the deep mind builds from state. The conscious mind wants to remain awake as a guard. The deep mind asks only for the seed. Therefore, give the seed. The seen is the seed. The quiet, I am, is the seed. The feeling that it is already done is the seed. Now let sleep be the soil. In sleep, the subconscious does not work by noise. It works in silence. It does not announce every movement. It does not explain every arrangement. It does not come to the conscious mind every hour and say, now I am moving this heart. Now I am opening this door. Now I am turning this delay into the bridge. It works silently, as roots work silently, as life works in the womb, as the tide obeys a hidden pull, as dawn is prepared before the first line of light appears. The womb is dark, yet life is formed there. The soil is dark, yet the root is formed there. The night is dark, yet morning is prepared there. The subconscious is hidden, yet experience is formed. Not because you escape creation, but because you surrender creation to the deeper law. You cease striving, you cease arguing, you cease holding the desire at the surface where doubt can disturb it. You let it descend. And in the descent, it is no longer a wish tossed about by every passing thought. It becomes an impression, it becomes an instruction, it becomes a direction in the deep. Sleep is not absence. Sleep is entrusting. Sleep is not interruption. Sleep is continuation. The law continues while you sleep. Let those words be simple. The law continues while you sleep. Even when you are not thinking, the accepted state remains active. Even when you are not planning, the bridge may be arranging. Even when you are not watching, hearts may be softening. Even when you are not searching, possibilities may. Even when you are not awake to name them, obstacles may be losing their authority. You do not need to see this happening. The seed does not see the gardener. The root does not see the flower. The child in the womb does not see the world being prepared for birth. The night does not see the dawn, yet dawn is coming. So let the unseen be trusted. The subconscious, when impressed with the fulfilled state, begins to move in. It may arrange a conversation that seems ordinary, but carries the first opening. It may draw your attention to a thought that becomes the next step. It may soften your own heart, where resistance once lived. It may soften another's heart in a way you could not command. It may awaken an idea in the morning. It may change your reaction to an old circumstance. It may make what once seemed impossible begin to feel natural. It may make you less available to the old identity. It may prepare the bridge while you sleep. You do not have to know how. You do not have to remain awake to ask how. You do not have to keep the mind alert like a nervous watchman at the gate. Let the watchman sleep. Let the law work. Let the seed descend. Let the deep receive. The fulfilled state has been given. That is enough. Now perhaps the old mind says, a phrase is not meant to remain as noise forever. It is meant to become feeling. If the words "it is done" fade, but the body sleeps in relief, the phrase has done its work. If the words "I am already the one" fade, but the identity has softened into the deep, the phrase has done its work. If the words "the state is accepted" fade, but acceptance remains as atmosphere, the phrase has done its work. Once the boat brings you to the shore, you do not need to carry the boat on your back. Let the words dissolve into feeling. Let the feeling dissolve into sleep. Let sleep carry the seed. Now perhaps the old mind says, but if I do not keep imagining, the scene will vanish. Let it vanish when sleep comes. The scene is a door, not a prison. It gives you the feeling of after arrival. Once the feeling is, it may reduce to one word, one touch, one breath, one sense of relief. That is not loss, that is distillation. The long picture becomes a small seed. The small seed enters the deep. If the embrace fades but love remains, it is enough. If the letter fades but approval remains, it is enough. If the voice fades but certainty remains, it is enough. If the image fades but done, rest can impress the subconscious. Rest can be the seal. Do not disturb rest by trying to prove you are practicing. Do not become anxious because you are becoming sleepy. Sleepiness is not the enemy of this teaching. Sleepiness is the doorway through which the teaching enters the deep. The conscious mind may want to remain in control because it has mistaken control for power, but the true power lies in acceptance. Once accepted, a seed guarded too tightly cannot be planted. A desire held too anxiously cannot descend. A state watched too fearfully may remain at the surface. Release it into sleep. The law continues while you sleep. Say it inwardly, if it comforts you. The law continues while I sleep. Again, the law continues while I sleep. Softer. The law continues. I sleep. The law continues. Not faith as a demand that the body stay awake until every question is answered. Faith as surrender to law. Faith as the hand releasing the seed. Faith as the mother trusting the womb. Faith as the farmer trusting the soil. Faith as the sleeper trusting that the deep receives what consciousness has accepted. In the womb, form is made in silence. The eyes of the world do not watch the shaping. No crowd gathers. Blood moves. A heart begins. A body is prepared for the world. The hidden does not need applause to work. So too your desire, accepted in consciousness, may be formed in the silence of the subconscious before it appears in the visible world. Do not demand that the hidden become visible too soon. Let the womb be the womb. Let the soil be the soil. Let the night be the night. Let sleep be sleep. The conscious mind may rest and the subconscious may receive. The conscious mind may cease its questions and the deep may carry the answer. The conscious mind may close its eyes, and the bridge may begin in ways unseen. The conscious mind may sleep, and the law continues. This is the tenderness of the law. It does not require you to strain all night. It does not require you to remain awake as proof of devotion. It asks only that you give yourself to the fulfilled state and then rest. The state is the cause. Sleep is the seal. The subconscious is the receiving soil. The world is the eventual harvest. State, seal, soil, harvest. Let those words be simple. State, seal, soil, harvest. Now, if the body is heavy, let it be heavy. The heaviness is not fatal. If the mind drifts, let it drift toward the phrase. If the phrase fades, let it fade toward the feeling. If the feeling fades, let it fade into sleep. Nothing is lost. The law continues. Nothing is lost. The seed is in the deep. Nothing is lost. The state is accepted. Nothing is lost. Sleep seals it. Let the mind stop supervising. Let the shoulders stop carrying the bridge. Let the eyes stop searching behind closed lids. Let the body belong to the fulfilled state. You may sleep now as the one who has already planted. You may sleep as the one who has already chosen. You may sleep as the one whose desire is already accepted in consciousness. You may sleep as the one for whom the way is already made. And while you sleep, the law continues. It continues beneath words. It continues beneath the surface of the day. It continues in silence. It continues in the hidden place. It continues in the deep. Now imagine the root beneath the soil. No one sees it, yet it works. It does not hurry, because it trusts the pattern within the seed. It does not panic, because the flower has not yet appeared above the ground. It grows downward first, into the unseen, establishing the... Before the visible result, there is root. Before the outer event, there is inner establishment. Before the world changes, the state becomes rooted. Let the root grow. Do not pull it upward. Do not ask it to show itself before its season. Do not make hidden growth wrong. Let the root grow while you sleep. Now imagine the seed in darkness. It is covered, it is quiet. It cannot see the sun. Your desire, accepted and carried into sleep, enters that kind of darkness. A holy darkness, a fertile darkness, a darkness where the conscious mind stops interfering and the deeper law begins arranging. Let the seed remain in darkness. Let it split. Let it root. Let it prepare. Let it become. Now imagine the womb, hidden, warm, silent, forming life without display. So it is with your fulfilled state. You may not see all that is being prepared. You may not know which heart is softening, which door is opening, which idea is forming, which event is turning, which obstacle is weakening, which path is aligning. You do not need to know. You are not the outer supervisor of the womb. You are the consciousness that gave the seed. Let the womb of night do its work. Let the unseen shape the seed. This does not mean that when you wake you will be passive or lifeless. It means you will not wake from fear. The law may give you an impulse. It may give you a peaceful next step. It may place a conversation before you. It may awaken an idea. It may guide you to act, to wait, to speak, to receive, to forgive, to move, to rest. But those movements will come from the state, not from panic. You do not need... Tonight is for receiving. Tomorrow may bring the bridge. Tonight is for sleep. Tomorrow may bring the next stone. Do not carry tomorrow's steps into tonight's rest. The steps belong to the bridge. The bridge belongs to the state. The state has been accepted. Therefore, rest. Now the words may become simpler. The teaching may become a sleep loop. No more effort. No more explanation. Only, I am already the one. The way is made. I rest in the fulfilled wish. The law continues while I sleep. Again softly. It is done. The state is accepted. I am already the one. The way is made. I rest in the fulfilled wish. The law continues while I sleep. Now slower. It is done. The state is accepted. I am already the one. The way is made. Let the words become like waves, not demanding attention, only returning gently. Done. Accepted. The one. Way made. Rest. Law continues. If one word remains, let it remain. If no word remains, let the feeling remain. If even feeling becomes sleep, let sleep receive it. Done. Accepted. Rest. Done. Accepted. Rest. Ideas are awakening. The law continues. Obstacles are dissolving. The law continues. The state is becoming form. The law continues. You do not need to watch. The law continues. You do not need to force. The law continues. You do not need to remain awake. The law continues. Sleep now in the fulfilled state. Sleep now as the one. Sleep now without supervising the bridge. Sleep now without asking for signs. Sleep now in the quiet certainty of the end. It is done. The state is accepted. The law continues while you sleep. Now the teaching becomes simpler. It becomes breath. It becomes rhythm. It becomes a loop of rest. It is done. The state is accepted. I am already the one. The way is made. I rest in the fulfilled wish. The law continues while I sleep, and softer. Done. Accepted. Already the one. Way made. Rest. Law continues. Done. Accepted. Already the one. Way made. Rest. Law continues. Now even softer. Done. Accepted. Rest. Law continues. Done. Accepted. Rest. Law continues. Done. Accepted. The law continues. Sleep now. Sleep in the fulfilled wish. Sleep as the one. Sleep where it is done. And while you sleep, the law continues.